And welcome, everybody. Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling Podcast Edition. I am JD. Welcome to another episode where we're talking, well, funny enough, LPGA and golf is how we start off these podcasts now. If you've been listening to me in the last few months, yes, I've picked up the game of golf. I've become very enamored with it. I've taken it up full time, essentially. Obviously got a job, but it's tough taking up a new sport, new hobby, when a lot of the sports and recreations, as I've gotten older, I just simply can't do to the level I can do anymore. And there is certainly a life acceptance to it. And honestly, at this point in my life, golf is, along with bowling, kind of the perfect next steps in my life. But also on this podcast, we're talking Joshi wrestling. This is the new format, new structure to the show. When it comes to Joshi wrestling, on this particular episode, we're going to go into a lot of these shows: Sendai, Wave, Seedling, Tokyo Joshi Pro. Going to talk a little Stardom at the top of all that. But if you want the in-depth Stardom coverage, the deepest and most in-depth for business, most in-depth for booking, and those types of discussions, then head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast. Every single Stardom 5-star Grand Prix show will be covered in depth. The first episode's already out over night one, which was a resounding success, match-wise, from the promotion. Went about just over 45 minutes alone on that. So that's what we're talking about there. That's Red Leaf Retrocast Patreon. All one word, $5 tier for that. And you will also get the monthly Pure J episodes. So Pure J is building up to their Korakuen up here in August. That's monthly. LLPW retro reviews are also on that tier. And you'll also get the Joshi 2010's journey. That's what the Patreon was made for. Made for the support for that, because it has to do with acquiring DVDs and doing the research to properly cover shows from the past that no one else has covered. You will not hear another podcast talk about retro Joshi, much like this one. Joshi in the early 2010s all the way through that decade. And not to mention the AJW Classics, part of this podcast, also found on AJW Destiny feed, where you can find a lot of those Joshi 2010s episodes on delay that are available for free. So if you can't afford to support the venture of the Joshi 2010s journey, then at least give those a listen and spread the word over the history of women's professional wrestling. And after the AJW Classics, it's the Rickee block, where she joins me and we talk AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan G1, the Blood and Guts show happened, and then we finish off with WCW Nitro. It is the go-home show for Sold Out 2000. Terry Funk is running wild as commissioner against the new NWO. Yet again. That's the podcast. Let us begin with some LPGA. Venus Live. There was kind of a in-between event between Pebble and the Evian, which is two majors. They had one in Ohio, where Lynn Grant, the Swedish golfer who's kind of been on the cusp of breaking out, one of the better European players out there, she won by like 8 strokes. It was a resounding victory. No one came close, although Allison Corpuz, this was just days after Pebble, by the way, Corpuz was the one that won Pebble, and she actually got second place. So she turned around and had a very strong performance yet again, and she's pretty much solidified herself as a top 5 to 10 golfer in the world. Most definitely a top 5 American woman golfer right now. So that was fun to see. I watched a little bit of that event, but we're here for the Evian, which is the fourth major on the year out of 5 for the women. And the Evian takes place off of Lake Geneva out in France. It has some controversy behind it because it's a major that has the reputation of just simply being bought to be called that. And I listened to a couple podcasts that actually discussed and a little bit of the history of the Evian. And I found it pretty fascinating where the difference between the men and the women is the women had to fight to get their rights to even like be a pro tour. And they don't have the 100+ year history that the men do, nor the reputation of like this is established majors. So why not have a fifth? I don't see why not. It's not like they're raking in, $15-20 million purses out there. So if they want to have a nice little $1 million purse and call it another tournament, to me it's more the merrier. I like having more major tournaments with stakes attached to it, and honestly, I was doing my own little side research on the Evian and past winners and kind of YouTube-esque recap performances, you could say. And the winners have always been pretty legit. And I do get a kick out of how some players comment on the course being less than desirable and all these things. Like, I don't know, in my small experience playing golf, I like courses with a lot of uniqueness to them and challenge, rather than just it's a straight shot, X amount of feet, the fairways are wide, and there's maybe a couple bunkers in front of you. To me, that's kind of boring. And as I was watching the Evian, I was highly entertained. Why do I like Pebble so much? It's because it's a challenging course for the pros. Like, I don't think for a second I could play there to any capacity of skill. I can't even do that now. I'm a beginner. But when it comes to the professional level, I want to see them play on like difficult courses that I know I could not even have hopes and prayers of performing the way they do. I want to see, like on this one here, I want to see Nasa Hataoka on a like 80-degree incline that she hit a hook left, and now she's got to drop it so perfectly at the front of the green, or else she'll scream it to the back real hard, which is what she did. She didn't hit it exactly perfect, and that cost her a couple strokes right there as she was trying to vie for, first place with Celine Boutier there. I've definitely become more in tune with a lot of the women, and one thing I spoke about on the last podcast was the women's game doesn't have quite the same level of stars as the men because there's a lot more not disparity, but variety in the players that hang out at the top. And I thought this was a great tournament to highlight the best women that are performing there. All the way down from even Jin Young Ko's the ranked number 1 person for a while. She got a T20 with 2 under off the whole tournament, and like she didn't play particularly horrible, and neither did Minji Lee, who on the last day she faltered, where she got a +4 that put her back down to -3 for the tournament. Like these two people in particular, I've really loved watching, and then there's Lydia Ko, who had a good first day and a half, and then she faltered. I like seeing the ebbs and flows of these players, and the best of the best competing against each other. And some people get hot, some people don't. That's the nature in bowling as well. So that's definitely a big aspect of my entertainment to it. When it came to this tournament in general, I really became attracted to watching. Nelly Korda kind of come back. Rose Zhang always hanging around. I mean, she got a -5 T9. She is the most consistent player on tour as far as I'm concerned. She's gotten, I think, 13th or lower in every tournament she's been in so far. So she's knocking on the door of this already. It's a matter of time. And that's something I've learned about golf is kind of paying attention to how someone's performing on a week-to-week basis and seeing if they're knocking on the door. Lynn Grant was doing that for a while. Corpuz over the last 6 months to a year. And I'm seeing the same with Naosa Hataoka, right? The Japanese woman. She was hanging around the top for a good majority of this tournament. and there's always Brooke Henderson kicking about. She had an ups and down tournament that was highly entertaining, particularly on the third day, because a lot of these tournaments are 4 days long. She got like a 29, 7 out of 9 birdies with 1 bogey on the front 9, and then as soon as the back 9 hit, she kind of fell apart for 4 holes, and you saw the frustration there. And I love that aspect about sports where you could do so well in the first half and then just go through a kind of rut period of something as simple as 4 holes. In bowling, it's a few frames where things don't come out properly as you anticipated. So the lies, the course layout, I found it super interesting, with a lot of the undulating greens that, I golfed at a place called Midville, and there was a hole where it had just this heavy downhill on the right and then a big drop off to the left. And I got a green in regulation right there on 2, and I walked out with a 10 because I just did not know. I'm not ready for greens like that. I don't know the proper strength or aspect of putting on those things. I have a lot to learn in that, and I just walked out going, I just don't know what I'm doing here. The same thing with chipping out of heavy rough that's, as thick as my backyard, because I don't mow it as much as I should. So when it comes to watching the LPGA in this tournament, I vastly enjoyed the people involved and the story of Celine Boutier and Brooke Henderson. Brooke Henderson's the defending champion. She was trying to make pushes through there, while Celine Boutier, the local French woman, she's been knocking on the door as well for quite some time. She's 29 years old. She's won tournaments for sure, and it was just a matter of time before she won this. And the story of her winning in her home country in a major, nonetheless, and she, all 4 days, she was consistent and at the top. Once day 2 was over, she never looked back. And it was just fun watching someone not even play defensive golf. She was playing smart golf. And that's something I got to learn about this game is, I had a harsh learning experience in bowling of how to play shots smart rather than going for a strike every time. Sometimes it's better not to risk the 5 split and just accept a 10-pin miss, if that's what it takes to win the match. And Celine Boutier was absolutely playing that way at the back 9 of the final day, and no one could catch her. There was one hole, and this was the most exciting part of the tournament to me, was there was one hole where Boutier, I think it was on hole 13, she got a bogey, and it was her first bogey in 18 holes, and in that moment, you could tell that all the golfers that were behind her, even by the 4 strokes, knew that that was their only opportunity to try to push a stroke on her or 2 and maybe put some pressure on her, and hopefully she would then falter. Well, what happened was Hatauka was in her same group, and Hatauka immediately punches 2 bad drives, 2 bad iron shots. She saves par on the first one and then bogeys the next one. That was that hole where she's, she hooked it left and she's got this wild shot that cost her. Saw the same thing with Brooke Henderson. She tried to kind of drive the green to get an eagle or an easy birdie and overshot it. Gabby Lopez faltered. Celine Borg, her last name's Borg. I forget her first name. We saw Korda try a few things on the final day. She ended up +1 on that final one. Every single person attempted to push, and they all failed. Yuka Saso kind of failed in that. She's another Japanese woman that's at the top. Very cool moment in the tournament there to watch. So the next tournament's the Scottish Open. We'll see how that does, and then the Open, which is the one in Britain, is in a couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to that. As for my golf game and how it's developed over the last 2 weeks, I mentioned that maybe I need to evaluate my swing better, take a break. Well, shortly after that, I got a good couple days in where I started turning my hands over. I've even recorded myself and kind of shared a recent one online where, I can get the club back. I have a pretty good swing for a beginner, at least in my take back and punch through. Where I'm still having a lot of issues is I'm not consistent in any sort of way with turning my hands over so I don't open the face of the club. That is a huge issue with me. That is extremely frustrating. And then because I have succeeded in now getting some sort of extra power behind the ball, it's 10 yards minimum. I've successfully, consistently been able to add to all my shots. What that's done is now increased my rate at which I hit the green close, or at least I'm approaching that area. And what's happened is now I'm finding myself in shorter areas closer to the green, so I'm in a lot of rough. I'm behind a bunker, and now I have to learn how and what kind of shots are most appropriate for that. What's my landing zone? How's it going to hit? How's it going to roll onto the green? Like I said, it is learning the game and how to play it smart rather than be like some of these guys I keep playing with where seemingly every shot has to be a flop shot. And that's just not smart golf. I have to learn the difference between the two. What is the best shot for this situation? Same thing in bowling. What is the best shot for the spare? What is my maximum output to get me the highest percentage success? Right? Still have no use hitting a driver. I cannot do it. I had a friend insist that I try one, and I'm just not good enough to hit a driver yet. I hit my 3-wood anywhere from 180 to 240, depending on how much power I'm able to actually put behind it. A driver, I'm not going over 150 with this thing. There's just too many things that I consistently hit wrong with it, and even if I hit it square, I still have no power behind the driver to hit it in any worthful manner. I hit my 7-wood farther than a driver, believe it or not. And sometimes I hit a 4 hybrid more than that too. That's kind of where I'm at there. And I did realize, I didn't realize, but a friend of mine realized that I had developed a really bad putting technique where I was stabbing the ball. I have no idea when that happened because I didn't do that prior, which makes sense why I was missing a lot of easy putts the last few weeks. And I came home on my putting green I made. I recorded myself, noticed, oh yeah, I am stabbing. I got to have a more fluid stroke to it, and immediately it was fixed. And when I went out on Sunday here, this past Sunday, that I was one putting a lot more. I was making a lot more putts within 8 feet more consistently. My speed was under control again. So avoid the stab. It is a worthless. Can't even call it a putting stroke. It's a worthless thing to add to your arsenal. So my main focus now is how to close that club face, and a lot of that has to do with turning my hands over, and then now it's learning the proper weight shift, because I essentially have zero. I have zero weight shift to it. I'm off balance and constantly on my back foot. I'm still mostly arms and somewhat shoulders, which is why I've added the 10 yards. But bear in mind, when I first began this, just over 90 days ago, that I was a guy who couldn't even get it 100 to 150 yards because I was all arms, no rotation, no anything. Couldn't even get the club back properly. So that kind of tells you how far I've come in my game and how I'm developing. On Wednesday, in the league I'm in, I shot a 59. It was terrible. No bogeys. I had... did I have a bogey on the very last hole? I might have. But I was double and triple bogey the whole way, with one hole where I had 2 straight out-of-bounds shots. So that killed me. That was one of the worst days I've had. It's certainly the worst day in the league that I've had. But even that was before I fixed the putting issue, because that would have saved me a lot of strokes. Not knowing how to chip within those certain aspects of the green hurt me a lot. And then the out-of-bounds shots on a big blow-up hole. So it was a combination of things where it's like not totally because I was losing everything, but it was one, developing a bad habit, and then just not knowing how to play this new shot position I'm finding myself in more consistently. With that, I'll play a short little theme here, and that will get me into a little Stardom talk. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, if you want the full five-star Grand Prix breakdown as I drink this beautiful rum that I have, I'm sure I'll be drinking a lot more of this later in the podcast when it's on the Rickee block. So, Sai Kamatani got injured in the main event, and there was an article, or at least in a blurb in the Observer, that came out that Sai Kamatani was meant to win the 5-star Grand Prix. It's kind of funny to me that anytime any of these injuries come up in Stardom, that inexplicably, coincidentally, it's always this person was supposed to win the big thing, so now Stardom has to adjust. It seems to happen every single time that the info is always, well, obviously this person was supposed to win, so now you have to watch to see who is going to win now, and you don't know. While you listen to all the actual Joshi podcasters out there, everyone's kind of predicting Utami. The Utami Mayu thing puts a, it puts some questions into that. It doesn't mean she can't still win the 5-star, or she's not top of the list. Look, I'm not denying Sai Kamatani wasn't a top candidate to win this thing. But to flat out say, like, she was the one that said this, not the same thing. But I went into the business dealings over the 5-star on the Patreon. Recommend listening to that. When you're listening to this, probably night 2 will also be out on the Patreon at this point. Episode 1 is free on this very feed. So if you want to listen to more, you'll have to pony up the dollars. So, yeah, I mean, 5-star Grand Prix Night 1 from Mina Shirakawa Utami up was phenomenal wrestling up and down the card. And then I will also be, for fun, keeping track of the non-5-star participants that are always on these cards. I'm calling it the Gold Star block. Like a gold star in school for participation. And I've come up with points over like pins, getting pinned, that kind of thing. So I'll be talking about that on the Patreon as well. So looking forward to more Stardom 5-star. They did come out and say that Megan Bain is going to be challenging on the Osaka show. And she is going to be on house shows throughout this tour, so that's good. Gets her acclimated to the new environment, the new wrestlers. They can build her up within the promotion. This was always a critique I had with TJPW and booking Gaijins, and Stardom is doing exactly what I suggested. I have no issue with this. Now, am I still confident that the match will be anything better than 3.5 stars? Well, it goes without saying. They are going through with booking this announced Legends show involving all of the top Joshi grifters short of Mayumi Ozaki herself. It's funny how Bull Nakano, Aja Kong, Manami Toyota, and Akira Hokuto were all busy that day, but instead we got Momoe Nakanishi, and then a lot of people that can't fucking move anymore, like Dump Matsumoto. Zap, of all people, can't even announce Kyoko Inoue. Yumiko Hota, shockingly, was not grifting herself into this show. Shinobu Kandori, during the press conference, is sizing up the champion, and it's always the same with these Joshi legends and veterans, where they talk about this generation not being as good, not knowing what professional wrestling is, and how they're always going to save it. They're gonna scream from the rafters that this is women's wrestling, that it's going to be them who does it, and they haven't done shit in 20 years. So move over. I'm tired of their nonsense. And Tam Nakano is like doing her best to try to like build something up with Kandori, and Kandori is just brushing her off like it's no big deal. And look, if I was so convinced that they're going to have a trios match, and Kandori was going to get her comeuppance, and Tam Nakano, the red belt champion, was going to pin her in the middle of the ring, saying, I'm here now, you guys are in the past. I'd be like, okay, I'd be willing to play ball with it, but that's not going to happen. If anything, it's probably going to be a countout. It's closer to that than Tam Nakano pinning Shinobu Kandori in 2023. Kandori hasn't done like a clean job in 20 years. Like, get out of here. Did laugh at Nanai not being a part of that poster. So, the tickets aren't selling well either. The Osaka show, it's kind of, selling very well. Might even sell out. But this Legends show is not doing well. And it also goes into another thing. These people haven't been stars in fucking 15, 20 years. Especially after the pandemic, where a lot of those people stopped watching. I don't know the value of these people anymore. It just seems like to me that Rossi Ogawa is hitting them up and grifting them for a paycheck, Excuse me. Sorry as I hit my mic. Well, anyways, enough about me burying that. I got more stuff to bury. Let's go on to our first show, and that is going to be Sendai Girls, of all things. So I think what I'm going to do is just play Mio Momono's music because she had a good match on the show. I'll do that. All right, so Sendai Girls ran Korakuen Hall for a quote-unquote big show. It's got like 4 votes on cage match, 10 votes for matches. The main match people are talking about out of this one is the Chihiro Hashimoto Natsupoi match because Sendai used the Stardom cheat code, much like a lot of these male promotions are constantly using the New Japan cheat code to actually draw some sort of house of value. But the undercard, not worth going into. Yurika Oka beats Yura Suzuki. Iger and Sakura Hoda had a match fucking 20 years in the making of shit. Then Manami, Ryu Mizunami, and YUU defeated Pure J's Akari, because of course they did. Lana Cross and Nina Samuels. That was a garbage match. That was bad. And then we got to the main stuff. Mika Wada, Takase against Sariano and Sari. Go to a 15-minute draw. This was my match of the night. I really enjoyed this. I like this more than another Sari tag that was on another show. Talk about a little later. But, yeah. Red Soul against Aono and Sari really brought it. They had a lot of fire and energy to them, which I really enjoyed. What I'm a little bit more confused about is at the end of the night, Mika Wada came out to challenge the champion. You couldn't have her pin one of these people or have Iwata and Sari on a team and she pins Takase. Takase has no issue with doing jobs, and that would have been the move to do. Make your challengers look strong. The other weird thing is Sari has been doing limited dates, which might be better for her aura and limited drawing power that she has, but on cards like this, you really just make her seem like just a girl, a jag, rather than a star. But anyways, Hashimoto Natsupoi, a lot of people are talking about that. It went under 12 minutes. It's, if I'm comparing it to the matches I saw on the 5-star from night 1, I've kind of put it at that same level as Momo against Mirai. Maybe a little more pizzazz to it, because Natsupoi is such a good seller. But it was a lot of Chihiro domination. Natsupoi didn't get a whole lot off. She does lose clean as a whistle in the end, because it's Natsupoi, she always does. Match after this was Hiroyo Matsumoto and Dash Chisako. Her return match, 14.5 minutes. Hiroyo wins. Dash loses because she's coming back from injury. It's a very common Japanese pro wrestling story. I thought the match was pretty good, like a little 1 out of 3 action. They built to the 1 table spot rather than being total plunder, so it was fine. And then the Sendai Girls World Title match. Veni, the champion, defending against Millie McKenzie, coming back from her NXT days, UK that is. And she's affiliated with Sendai. She did have the TJPW stint a little bit earlier this year, a couple months ago. So this match was kind of a strange. And then when we go further into the match, you know, I'm looking at what Millie McKenzie and Venny are doing, and they just have like no chemistry to it. It's very slow. It's awkward through the most of the time. It's not very long, and I had this very similar critique about Venny and the Mika Iwata match, where there's just no energy to it. Everything felt awkward. It's slow. It just feels like everyone's working at half pace, you know. And then I'm watching Sari Ano kick it up in these Stardom 5-star matches, and like, oh, so this is what motivated wrestling looks like. I constantly say that with Stardom versus shows like this. You can tell when people are motivated to perform in front of a crowd of value than these indie crowds that show up to these shows where you're barely cracking in 100 people. I think there was about 600 people for this Sendai show. About that. But they don't announce their attendances, so I can only speculate and guess. Right? But this match was mostly a mess. And it was a lot of just domination by Venny, all the way to the finish, where Venny hits her with this big Michinoku driver finisher, and McKenzie rolls backwards and pins her for the win. New champion. And believe it or not, this is the first time Chihiro Hashimoto has not been involved in a title change in Sendai's history. This is the first one. So it's really just comical that Millie McKenzie, of all people, gets the title before anyone associated with Sendai themselves. No Dash, no Iwata, nobody. It continues the trend of it's only about Chihiro and outsiders. And this one was 2 outsiders, depending on how you view Millie McKenzie. I don't see her as a Sendai talent, even though this is the one she works more frequently. So yeah, Asuka pones this girl and then gets rolled up fluke-wise. And that'll take us into Catch the Wave. Do I play a wave drop? Should I? Wave? Sure, I'll play Nagisa Nozaki. I like that music. Yeah, so Catch the Wave goes another year. Nagisa Nozaki's been out for a full calendar year now, tearing her leg. Yumioka not in this thing to any degree of sense. And here on Catch the Wave Final, 513 people came to this thing. Not great. Let me pull up my annual Joshi stats spreadsheet that I keep track here. Because, so 513 is their highest of the year. 413 was their previous highest. It's an improvement, but it's still not to the extent of any, like, meaningful value for celebration. You know, it's still a bad number, even by indie standards. And if we go back to pre-pandemic for Wave, it's about in line with them shutting the promotion down, is what I'm going with. Like, that's what these numbers mean. You know, promotions cannot get these numbers forever and hope to survive. That's why these rosters are getting smaller. They can't pay people. The freelance scene is bigger than it has been in years and years. That's not a good thing. The freelancers need steady pay, and it said, anyways. I talk about that a lot on Joshi 2010s and throughout the last couple of years. Even when former host Kay was on this, that's what we talked about a lot. So this is the Catch the Wave final. They were going to have the semifinals and then the final match on the show with then a bunch of kind of fluff in the middle of it all. We had, of course, Yuko Sakurai in a singles match defeating Himiko. We had a 5-way elimination tag match won by Shimizu and Sasamura. Not much to say there. Went on way too long. Lots of comedy. That's the thing about Wave. Everything's a lot of shtick. Nothing's ever serious, so it's hard to take them serious. Even though they try to be a serious promotion with things like Catch the Wave, it's very strange. So we got Saki defeating Itsuki Aoki, just under 17 minutes. Longest match on the show, by the way. And it wasn't good. It was quite boring and bad. It's two wrestlers that just don't have that upper gear, and them going that long doesn't work. The next semifinal match was an absolute disaster. It's Veni against Yuki Miyazaki. 9 minutes, and I don't even know if that was the meant time, because what happens is Yuki Miyazaki goes for her like Dominator finisher, and she pulls her up and she collapses, like her knees fall out from underneath her and she falls. So then she goes up for a second time, gets Veni up and not quite, goes back down. And then she sits on her like Humpty Dumpty falling off a wall. And she's slapping herself, she's trying to get motivated again. Finally gets her up for a third time and doesn't get her all the way over for the Dominator. She drops her right on her neck and head. And Asuka kicks out Veni. Not over yet. Then they do the Death Valley driver spot. Okay. And then Veni rolls her up for 3 after getting hit with the DVD. Horrid finish. Horrid match. Yuki Miyazaki is fucking washed. She's got nothing left to give. And she's getting protected like this. I don't get it. And as we saw in the main event, which I'll talk about in a second here, Veni needs all she can get these days. Because she's putting in a lot of weird finishes and subpar matches. I don't know if that has to do with motivation, or she's just developed this bad habit style, like me stabbing my putting stroke, where these singles matches don't work anymore. Risa Sera wins a 3-way against Kohaku and Takase. Not much there. And as we all predicted, and the best way to use Saki Akai and Hikaru Shida teaming up together for a semi-main event on your biggest show of the year is them beating up a couple rookies for 13 minutes. Exactly how we'd all book it to get maximum value for your talent. So Veni against Saki in the finals, and Veni wins inside 12 minutes. Short match, probably the right amount of time. You know, if you had better talent in there, people want to see a long main event, a longer main event. You know, get to that 15 plus 20 minute range. Go 22 if you can, if you're good enough. That's kind of a good sweet spot area. These two didn't even make it to 12. They went 11 and a half. Saki just doesn't have that extra gear in her to get there, so that's why I'm a little worried about the Pure J Korakuen match of Nakamori against Saki. Veni just doesn't have a big singles match in her this year. None of them are good. What's sad is this is probably the best match in all of the Catch the Wave tournament this year. Is this 1 out of 3, totally okay, fine, 11.5 minute main event at a Korakuen Hall. I can't recommend a single match from this tournament. And that's unacceptable. You know, I covered the 2010, 11, and 12 Catch the Wave, and I can't imagine this tournament being any colder other than them closing the promotion down. This tournament doesn't draw well. It didn't draw well on the house shows. You know, sub 100, 200 numbers. It's constant shtick, which doesn't draw money. And as we saw with this card here and how it's laid out, the matches aren't any good. Or the matchups themselves are not interesting enough to be warranted on a Korakuen Hall show that they run only 2-3 times a year. Let's move on to Seedling, and I'm going to play Arisa Nakajima because her music kicks ass, and I guess I only have like one thing to particularly talk about with Seedling before I get into the TJPW. Okay, so Seedling ran Shin-Kiba first ring on July 26th. Basically a preview show to get everyone ready for the Korakuen Hall show that's coming up, where it's Arisa Nakajima defending the Beyond the Sea Tuna Can title against Sari, the Just a Gal from Sendai. Main event was Nakajima and Aoki teaming up against Kawahata. Versus the team of Kawahata and Sari. Went 19 minutes, and I thought this was sloppy. I see a number of people that say it kind of kicked ass. It was good hard hitting. I mean, yeah, Nakajima and Sari threw some hard forearms at each other, but they were not on the same page, like chemistry-wise or anything, throughout their entire, well, I'll call it a 10-year in the match, because they were in there a long time, just having awkward moments. But to be fair, this is why you do like a preview tag like this. So you can get your kinks out, work out your stuff that didn't quite work out in this match when you're trying your singles preview. So then when you do get to the singles match, now you know your flow with the other person. And honestly, I thought Nakajima Kawahata was the strongest point in this match. Kawahata has massively improved over the last year and a half. I think she's got main event potential. Probably at this point already, as we saw in this match, and her match against Nakajima. Anyways, this is why did I play Mio Momono for Sendai Girls? She didn't have it. Was this show she had the singles match? Whatever. Anyways, Mio Momono faced Riko Kaiju, 15-minute match. Very sad that the promotion that books Mio Momono the strongest is Seedling, rather than her own promotion in Marvelous, where it's all about Aroha and Mayumi Ozaki and that feud, and Ozaki's probably going to win this title. I would be absolutely shocked if Mio Momono does, like, if she wins via roll-up, that wouldn't shock me. If she wins in any capacity of it's like pinning Ozaki clean, I would be floored. I think Ozaki's walking out with that title and then losing to Aroha. And speaking of Aroha and Marvelous, just kind of bringing them up, they just started their own YouTube service. So if you want to watch those shows, sign up for that, much like in the same vein as Pure J and their service. Aroha's defending the tag titles for the first time in almost a year, so get ready for that. Yeah, Momono and Kaiju, good match. And then the rest of the card, it's not worth kind of going into. 4-match card, 150 people at Shin-Kiba. Get into it, I guess. The indies are just between the not chemistry, not motivation, 50% output, and wacky protection finishes. I'll get into TJPW here, but I mean, Stardom's booking hasn't been all that like light years great this year either. But man, compared to what we're seeing everywhere else, it's rough. So here we go, TJPW. Oh my god. I threw down the rest of my rum for this part because we are 5 days in to this Princess Cup this year. And this Tokyo Princess Cup 2023 is not good. The structure of the tournament has invoked no drawing power whatsoever. Maki Ito might as well be a GCW full-time wrestler now. She is not part of this promotion. Miyu Yamashita is still doing her Miyu Yamashita things of skull-kicking everyone's head in, looking mean mug in the camera, and then it's like, I was telling jokes, it's just like, hey, Kota, what are we booking today? We're booking Miyo Yamashita to kick someone's ass. It's the only go-to thing is these three pillars of TJPW. And Yuka's injured, so now they're down to two. It's Shoko and Miyu. And we get to day 5. Spoiler, Rika beats Shoko. I think it's the best match of the tournament right now. And Rika Tatsumi might be the only one left in this promotion of a main event value when this is all said and done. It's wild. Day 1. I got to go over these attendances because they're abysmal. TJPW has one tournament for singles value where one of their major shows, the winner goes on to the major show. I buried Cinderella this year from Stardom. I'm going to bury the Princess Cup because this is not indicative of how you make something feel important. When you go to KFC Hall 3 days in a row, not one of them breaks over 300 people. The very first day, which is the one you're supposed to leave your best impression with Miyu Yamashita and Mizuki, your champion, the one that you got 1,100 people to Korakuen Hall, which is not a great number, by the way. There was a podcast out there. The same one I buried on the last episode that said, if TJPW would do a 8-match singles match Princess Cup at Korakuen with Miyu and Mizuki in the main event, they could sell it out. Bullshit, they could. They couldn't get 250 people to KFC Hall for this one. And the match was boring and half-ass. Moka Miyamoto beats Hyper Masao. 2 matches in your opener for your Princess Cup. Are you kidding me? 219 people. No wonder no one showed up to this thing. All right? Day 2. The main event, 10 minutes of Rika Tatsumi beating Raku. What? Another 2-match show. Suzume and Shoko are in the semi-main. TJPW fans loved it. Gave it a fucking 4-star match. I think they're high with that. It's not that good, but how that isn't the main event over Raku is baffling. Raku is a meme wrestler, meme character, and she's terrible. They put her in the main event. And yet that drew more than Mizuki and Miyu Yamashita. That tells you something. 223. Another failing number. Day 3. Still at KFC Hall because the scheduling is impeccable. Their lowest yet with Miyu Watanabe. And this is what I was talking about. Her star power is nothing right now. Okay? 202 people. Now you could say, they ran it 3 straight days. Well, yeah, that's dumb too. But if she was any sort of star in this promotion that people wanted to see win, you could at least match day 1. Yuki Kamafuku defeats Inao Calcutta before that. I liked the Ano Watanabe match. I really did. Thought that was the second best match of the tournament. But, I look at the rest of these 6 to 5 match cards, and the undercards up until the semi-main are always the same with TJPW. There's never any disparity to it, and they're not telling stories, guys. At least when I watch a Stardom show, I have a semblance. I just watched the Nagano show, and there's Megan Bain in a trios match, and she's there to build up to a main event, so they're making her look strong. You got Suzu cutting post-match promos. That's all going to be on the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast. Listen to that. But that's better than Pam Harajuku teaming with Raku in a match with a rookie and Hyper Masao, where they go 10 minutes, can't wrestle, they're doing shtick, and it's not funny or good. Day 4. Still in Tokyo, by the way. KFC Hall, you guessed it. 4 days they ran the KFC. I hope they got extra large chicken bucket for this, because Yuki Arai and Hikari Noa gets the biggest crowd of the tournament at 289, where Yuki Arai beats Hikari Noa in a pretty good match. Arisa Endo beats Kirio in 10 minutes, semi-main, another 2-match first round show. What are we doing? If you want to do house shows at KFC, do your house shows. Make the tournament feel special. I do agree that maybe 6 to 8 matches on a night is a little, maybe too much, depending. I could see that. But let's at least make one of these shows feel important and must watch. So then we get to day 5. The first time they're trying the quarterfinals, where they do 4 matches. So here we go. This is the card I was talking about. Let's make it feel a little bit more important. They gave us a bigger venue. The openers were still kind of the same. Trios matches, tags, whatever. None of them were particularly memorable or good. That Palm Harajuku Mahi Akiro tag match was horrid. They restarted it. Anyways. So the whole crux is they're doing these 4 quarterfinal matches. 437 people for this Korakuen Hall at TJPW. You know, I came on here, and when it came to like the Sawyer Wreck thing and Mizuki's Reign, they finally get over, they've been hanging around in that 600 all year. And they finally got over the 700 for a show. They just came off their second largest show of the year with the Summer Sun Princess deal. So you're like, okay, maybe they have some momentum coming out of that. 437. Horrid number. That is, what did they draw last year? Bunch of 400s. 500s even. This is lower than last year. This is terrible. You can't, because of the way they booked the tournament, make it feel, the Tokyo Princess Cup has no drawing power as a show. And that's kind of the mentality and strategy of a lot of these promotions. Stardom is banking on the card and the strength of show with how important they feel. That's why I think they've done irreparable damage to the Cinderella for years to come with the way they've booked it the last 2 years. And TJPW is doing that with their Princess Cup, and they have done it. It does not feel important. And then, holy shit, the booking. I watched this live, and I was joking, and it's Tetsuya Koto 101. He never learns. He never learns. He has one idea, and that's to book the 2 strongest people over and over and over and over again until they retire or leave permanently, and then he can fill the slot back up, right? Where no one gets put over strongly, and by the time he may do it, it's too late, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. And then, so the star power that you're supposed to put over isn't transferred. I know I'm making it sound like some sort of osmosis equation here, but work with me here. Okay? We got Yuki Arai beating Endo. Endo's never won a thing in her life. She's still booked like a rookie, even though she's one of the more talented people left on this roster. Okay? People were talking about this over a year ago with what are we doing with Endo. And I even said, why are we waiting for her first win in fucking January of 2023? We're in July now, and she's still not winning anything. She beat what? Who'd she beat? Mocha Miyamoto? She hasn't won anything either. If the best they're doing is beating Mahiro Kiryu and rolling up Palm Harajuku, what are we doing here? Doesn't mean shit. Yuki Arai, she's a star, but she's not a polished product. I say star, but again, work with me here. I'm yelling at people now. They're just listening. She's still missing half her shit, guys. Let's calm down on Yuki Arai. She's not this star worker or star presence. But at least they're booking her like someone who means something. That's what we need. That's what this promotion needs. So we follow that up with, naturally, who everyone picked, including myself, that went, oh, well, surely they can't be this dumb, where after that monumental run, I put in quotes, last year, where Miya Watanabe gets the nice little victory over Miyu Yamashita, where I said it was a fluke win, and boy, did they prove me right a year later. She hasn't done jack shit in the entire year since she lost to Yuka and got posterized. Now we cut to a year later where she can have her redemption story and at least get to the semis. And here she is losing to Yuki Kamifuku clean as a sheet via the Fameasser in 12 minutes. I died. Tetsuya Koda 101. Open the book. This is what it says. It's shit like this. I'm not saying Miyu Watanabe is the next Ayumi Kurihara, but the booking's the same. Ayumi Kurihara is the up-and-coming hottest young act on the scene at the time. I'm not saying Miyu Watanabe is at that same level, but in terms of TJPW, she's the only one people are grabbing onto right now. Okay? And Tetsuya Koda books Ayumi Kurihara to not only face Yoshiko Tamura, who's retiring, and the promotion's closing at the end of the year, and he beats her in October of 2009. Or 10? 2010. 2 months later, the promotion closes, they redo the match, and Kurihara wins. Too fucking late. So what's going to happen with Miyu Watanabe now? I think they've done damage to her. It's going to be at least another year or two before they can rectify this and have her have meaningful victories. Because now if they just do it at a house show, means nothing. They do it at Wrestle Princess. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be thinking, boy, wouldn't it be nice if she was in a bigger match? Are they going to book her against Ryu Mizunami and have her pin clean? That might actually work. That might be step one into making her feel like a main eventer. Because this woman should have been a main eventer 2 years ago. Year and a half ago. She should have beaten these people by now. And here she is losing to Yuki Kamifuku in the quarterfinals. Miyu Yamashita beats Mocha Miyamoto in 13 minutes. Mean Mugs kicks her face off. Hope Mocha learned a lesson. And then you got Rika Tatsumi defeating Shoko Nakajima in 19 minutes. Good match. I like that. Shoko loses, taking her talents to LA. Rika Tatsumi is the backbone of this promotion. Month in and month out. I'm not saying she's like a top 20 wrestler of the year or anything. She just doesn't have the resume to back that up. But in terms of TJPW, she absolutely is. She's at that top. But she's not consistently booked as the top. She's the mid-card champion right now. International princess. She's not the main one. So what are we doing? What are we doing with TJPW? We have Kamifuku, Miyu Yamashita, Rika Tatsumi, and Yuki Arai as your semifinalists. To me, I think people will be happy with the Rika Tatsumi win. Not satisfied. I'm not saying that. Those are two different words I'm using. But happy. I say fuck it. Yuki Arai. I say she just pins everybody. Why not? I don't think that's going to happen for 1 second. I think that's less than a 1% chance. I think both Kamifuku and Arai are getting posterized, and it's going to be Miyu Yamashita, Rika Tatsumi. That's the easy guess, right? Could there be another upset with Yuki Kamifuku? I would fucking howl again. And the cop-out, as I'll coin it, is people are thinking now Yuki Kamifuku is retiring, and therefore they want to give her a last run. Well, no! If she's retiring, she puts people over! She loses! Don't give her a gold watch. That's what fucked Ice Ribbon all these years. No gold watch runs. Too bad. You're not a star. Put over the next generation. Yelling in my house. Good thing I live alone. All right. AJW time. Yes, All Japan Women Destiny here. It's another episode on the journey of covering the classics of All Japan Women. This episode is bringing us to the August 24th Budokan show. All Japan Women, 15,560 people here today. And this Classics episode will span about 3 episodes here, 3 parts, for reasons that considered of topics that are split up pretty well considering the main events. This one is going to be about, well, Chigusa Nagayo. She's back. She does like annual matches like this seemingly, but there is a much bigger reason, or reasons, why Nagayo is back in All Japan Women at this particular time. So this is Classic episode 94. If you're keeping along, and maybe you found this, maybe you found all these videos on the Internet Archives. The Google Drive's gone, but hopefully you downloaded a bunch. You can get on XW Torrents, and it's a free download, so you can get all these classic episodes. This one is going to consist of 3 matches, but most of the time is going to be talking about what I'm going to do now rather than the matches itself. So the first reason Chigusa Nagayo, and a little recap for those that may have forgotten or joining in the most recent of histories here. Chigusa Nagayo, biggest star in the 80s, biggest woman star of all time, drawing power-wise. Was forced into retirement because of the dumb rules that the Matsunagas had implemented because of a variety of reasons. I'm kind of the mind these days that they were just cheap scrubs that were bad businessmen that made poor investments and thought they could just get away with making a new star, pay them pennies, and they can get the profits. That's my short version of it, but Chigusa Nagayo nonetheless. Much like quite a few of the biggest stars of the late 70s and 80s decided, you know what, this retirement thing's dumb when I'm 26 years old. I'm coming back in wrestling. Devil Masami, Jaguar Yokota, all these people. And Chigusa Nagayo is also part of this list of returning wrestlers. And this is her official announcement. It's been known in the media before this August 24th Budokan show that Chigusa Nagayo will have a special announcement regarding her wrestling career in a project she wants to start. So that had people doing a lot of speculation on what she was going to announce. And it was right up upon this show in particular that it kind of got leaked that she will announce the formation of a gimmick promotion. Those were the specific words used in a number of articles I found. Even the Wrestling Observer called it a gimmick new promotion. And the official announcement was going to be the day after this Budokan show. So let's go to this announcement, because you got to say it real fast. You would think that, it's just a publicity stunt or something. AJW just wants to use one of their biggest stars of all time to hype up the Dome show, be a part of it, etc., etc. Because the Tokyo Dome show, Big Egg Wrestling Universe, is in all the news, and it's really propped up a lot of the promotions and just promoting women's wrestling as a whole as the biggest women's show of all time. It still holds that true to this day. But the real reason is Chigusa Nagayo is announcing the formation of a new wrestling promotion that will bring its own stable of new women's wrestlers and feud specifically with All Japan Women and JWP on their respective shows. So they're already getting her, a couple other wrestlers that are signed, and a bunch of trainees, and their idea of getting reps in is to have them in a feud with AJW and JWP. Notably, LLPW, not on that list of names. So LLPW is by far and away the third promotion in the landscape before the formation of this Chigusa Nagayo project. The day after Budokan, she has this press conference, and a number of things happen. I will cover what happens with Kaoru, Infernal Kaoru specifically on the show here, but I guess it's kind of pertinent to this Chigusa Nagayo story is Kaoru Maeda, whom had left AJW for a variety of reasons, namely she kind of wanted to party and date boys, and that was the main two. Those were two of the three rules broken right there. So she went to CMLL. She's back. She unmasks on this Budokan show, reveals herself to no one's surprise. And Chigusa Nagayo at this press conference says she has signed 2 wrestlers along with herself, and Kaoru Maeda is one of those. And then they have a third whose name is literally not important. Stays in the back, trains people, that kind of thing. Essentially, do not worry about it. It's irrelevant because Kaoru's the one that sticks with this promotion and Chigusa Nagayo for years to come. Many, many years. So this promotion, the name is Gaia Japan, and what I found interesting on the announcements of this, the reason why a lot of the media outlets were calling it a gimmick promotion is because it's not going to have a full-time touring schedule. They're advertising Gaia Japan as a not even a produce show, but it sure sounds like it by all the verbiage. But it's since it's a non-touring promotion, but it'll be regular enough where each show is going to matter. So there's no house show circuit, if you will. It's going to be essentially a 1 or 2 shows a month. They may even have breaks in between to hype up and do other things outside the ring for advertising, so they can train. And the idea is to make their matches bigger and more important because of the infrequency of their running. I found that interesting. If you're familiar with Gaia and how they operated, I guess that kind of makes a little sense. But the resounding theory of why this was announced the way it was and how they're going to run is because they don't really have a stable roster and an experienced roster. So in order to get that idea up, this was kind of a feed the media a reasoning and then run with it, as the real reason is they'll run a show every now and again surrounded by the star power of Chigusa Nagayo. That'll be enough for those, and that's enough reps for their own wrestlers that they're training. But the real idea is, okay, they're going to feud with AJW and JWP. They can just send those wrestlers over, essentially do the house show rep circuits, utilizing those other promotions, which I get it. You have inexperienced wrestlers. It's not going to be the best drawing idea, but the more you make your wrestlers in promotion feel special, and then on the other shows they can get those reps in, then there's some value in that. I think the mentality is certainly correct there. And then as the wrestlers get better, then you can start doing more shows and your roster grows. I get the idea behind it. It's not the worst. It's not the worst theory out there. So that's what we can look forward to with Gaia Japan. And the fact that she waited the day after to make the announcement was, well, you get on the Budokan show. It's arguably at this point in time AJW's biggest show of the year, outside of Big Egg, of course. This August. This end of summer, midsummer, kind of August 24th-ish show is always among their best and highest attended shows of the year. I always point back to that huge card with the Jaguar Yokota and Linus Asuka match, Devil Masami, or not Devil Masami. It was Nagayo and Devil Masami. in the semi-main, and then you had the Bull Nakano dump tag match, and then there's of course the dump versus Chigusa like death match deal that they did. But as for what Gaia is going to be, there's the trend of FMW and whatnot, and in order to also bring something unique to the promotion, also why it was called a gimmick, is they're going to do more hardcore-esque elements to it, because there's Big Japan and FMW really having the cult following, so they kind of want to replicate that aspect as well. Will it work? Well, little spoiler with Gaia, essentially upon their start of being a promotion, they moved straight into the number 3 spot over LLPW in that sense. And more research and more you can look into it is, within a year, they're the number 2, right? They're over JWP. And, if you know, you know, Chigusa Nagaya was really enough of that element to make a promotion like that compared to the competition. So the 3 matches on this particular Classics episode is the 8-man tag opener involving Asari, Rita Mata, Suzuka Minami, and Tomoko Watanabe taking on and defeating the JWP team of Command Bolshoi, Usayo Nochi, more on her in a second, Hikari Fukuoka, whom is really rising the ranks of JWP right now. They're seemingly finally starting to push her over people like Ozaki and Kansai. And then there's Hiromi Yagi, more or less another rookie for JWP. The match went 15 minutes, got 3.5 stars rated by in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I can totally understand why you'd rate that. The main issue of this match was the element, the human of Fusayo Nochi throughout this match. She is a stand-up comedian of sorts in a comedic duo group, and she was on the show doing some sort of, can't even call it a gimmick, but some sort of challenge to become a wrestler, and it goes poorly. And the match goes as poorly as you can imagine when Fusayo gets in the ring here, because everything she does is delayed, looks awkward, she can't bump properly. It's almost like she didn't have enough time to train. And then in the ending stage of the match, where she's supposed to do various tags, stand in certain positions, she's just totally lost throughout this entire endeavor. While Suzuka Minami was in the ring, it was at its strongest. And the Minami-Fukuoka deal, I was kind of excited, but too often, especially on Suzuka Minami's side, is they just go to the mat and exchange holds like it's 1983. Quite boring in that aspect. I thought it was kind of a waste when, I've seen Suzuka Minami work fast. That's generally in straight tags. I've seen Hikari Fukuoka have excellent singles matches. I know they're capable of more, but when they're up against each other, it seems to never go right, and it's very dull. Bolshoi, the commander herself, she was probably the second most impressive person in this match. Asari, she has her flips and tricks to her, but she's still trying to figure out what to do with them, because she's a first of her kind. There's never been a high-flying woman before her. The most you'd get was Norio Tateno or Ichiki Yamazaki doing drop kicks off the top rope the way they were. Or in Tateno's case, the big King Kong knee drop deal. So Suzuka Minami ends up being the winner of this. Not much else to say here in this match other than what a disaster of timing Fusayo Nochi had involved. And it went on for 15 minutes. There's a little person's match for unknown God's reasons over why these constantly crop up on AJW shows. But it certainly would not be an AJW weird show, big show, with some weird elements. And for some reason, they love the shoot matches. In this case, it's a kickboxing shoot match. This is number 2 on the Classics. It's Kumiko Maekawa taking on a kickboxing professional named Kyoko Kamikaze. Okay? They score this thing. First of all, it's boring as shit. It makes no sense. Kumiko Maekawa is not a professional at this, while Kamikaze was, and they were just going half-assed. Well, Kumiko was going forward, but Kyoko clearly not in the mood and being told this is a work. Do not actually try to knock her out. Just make it look like you're winning a little bit throughout most of the time. And I love the moment, laughed wholeheartly, that at the end of the match, they go to the timekeeper's table, and they have the camera showing what the judges were scoring the rounds as. It's 10-9 this, 10-9 that, 10-9 this, 10-9 that. And eventually Kyoko wins, but they made it real close. Horrible stuff. You know, it wouldn't be AJW with having an excellent semi and main event and then somehow also having one of the worst women's matches of the year on the same card. That is true wrestling booking right there. You know. And then we get to our last match on the Classics here. As you heard from the intro music, that is the Chigusa Nagayo theme she comes out to, Hearts on Fire. Very much rocky element there. We're going to climb up, run up the steps in Philly, that kind of deal, to the statue. And Nagayo's coming out in what looks like a boxing robe. So she's put on some mass, and kind of in a good way, because now she's this just brooding force. Okay? And where it gets interesting is it's Nagayo and Toshio Yamada against Saki Asagawa and Mariko Yoshida. This is Mariko Yoshida's return match after busting her neck in 3 places off just a simple running the rope spot. So it's Yamada teaming up with her, quote, childhood hero, Chigusa Nagayo. It's always funny to hear that, when she was probably a teenager when Nagayo was just out of high school wrestling, that kind of thing. Because they're not far apart in age. I think it's only 3 years. But, I'm seeing Nagayo used to be a giant. When you see her today in today's women's wrestling, Joshi wrestling landscape, you would think Nagayo is just a fucking king of kings giant, towering over these people, and it's mostly because of her mass and her body width rather than her height, because both Yamada and Hasegawa got a few inches on Chigusa Nagayo, but they're in significantly better shape, much skinnier. I mean, Saki Asagawa's got shoulders for days, and then you see Nagayo, and she's in this gi kind of late 1980s biker outfit, if it was a wrestling theme to it. And Nagayo's just mass. Her thickness is what makes her so brooding, and this match kind of ruled. It definitely kind of ruled. I love the interactions of kicking between Nagayo and Yamada, going after the now high-flying again Mariko Yoshida. So if you remember in the last episode, when Yoshida was against Tamada, they were just kind of exchanging holds, getting used to it. It was kind of like a Shibata match in 2023, where people are kind of staying away from the head this, not doing impact moves that. Well, Yoshida, I guess, got her reps in, got comfortable, because she's back to her late 80s, early 90s space cadet gear that she's got, and she's ready to fly. And she was doing the running cross bodies, running off the ropes and crossbody the outside, the whole deal. While Saki Asagawa, she didn't really hit a lot of spin kicks in this, but she hit some Uranagi slams and whatnot. But the real story was Chigusa Nagayo yet again. Huge crowd cheering for her, very exciting, and it was a lot of Chigusa just bulldozing both Hasegawa and Yoshida. Not a whole hell of a lot of selling, but when there was, she made it count. That's kind of what that's going for. And the winner was... Who did Nagayo? Did she choke out? I think she choked out Yoshida. Memory serves. I should have written this down. Nagayo made Hasegawa submit to the sleeper. Big Dave gave it 3 3/4 stars. You know, I'm about there as well. I'm about like a 2 out of 3 recommendation, that like 3.5 to 4-star range. Not maybe not quite 4, but you get the idea. Looks, there was a perfectly good Mariko Yoshida. She could have made her pass out instead of Saki Asagawa, who, you know, she's been kind of in this weird state of, you can tell they want to push her, but their idea of push is her still just losing to bigger wrestlers like this. They're not ready to pull the trigger on Saki Asagawa. Despite her massive improvements in crowd connection, I think it's definitely becoming a missed boat at this point in 94. So, that's the match. Nagayo runs wild. The announcement of Gaia. What's going to happen coming out of this show? Where are we going when we get to more? So, Gaia starts in 1995. It might be worth checking out the first episode and recording it on the Patreon, patreon.com/redleaf for retrocast, where you can also find full reviews of every Stardom 5-star show that's happening here in 2023. Did the same thing last year in 2022. Got a lot of good feedback doing it again. So that's where you could probably find that first episode of Gaia to review. We'll see how it does. We do the LPGA reviews already. So we also know about the political games that's leading up to the Tokyo Dome. Talked extensively over Kandori and LPW. Kandori has LPW booking power. I mean, and there was immediate discussion of putting the title on Tateno, or, you know, because Eagle Sawai wasn't hacking it. But they really, in reality, it's just they don't want Kandori, as in she doesn't want to do a clean job on the Big Egg show. And they aren't the only ones that are worried about that. FMW, the fucking grifter that is Onita, took his FMW women's title off Combat Toyota to, I shit you not, Yuki Nabeno won that match, and she is horrid. She's horrid. And the idea is that they simply just take the title off of Kudo and Toyota. They're done with it until the Big Egg is over, because he doesn't want them doing jobs on a big show. Because they got a big 8-man tournament deal knockout thing going on, and the official participants that are known at this particular time, if I have my facts straight, was Aja Kong, Akira Hokuto, representing CMLL specifically. There's your interesting tidbit there. And then whoever is the winner and runner-up of their in the Japan Grand Prix. So there's more information there, along with the representatives from other companies, namely supposed to be their champions. However, LPW don't play ball, FMW don't play ball, JWP does a little bit, but they're kind of standoffish. But yeah, there was the other big thing coming out of the show was AJW got so hung up on trying to sell as many tickets as possible instead of turning the most profits. So this 15,000 number, according to a couple sources I was able to cross-reference, is reports were saying that only 5,000 tickets were sold, and they wanted the extra 10,000, so they dropped the $200 entry fee to get to somewhere around $50, more or less, depending on what your sources were. So I found that interesting, that in order for AJW to actually sell a shit ton of tickets to a show that was involving Chigusa Nagaya, was them to significantly drop the price. Possibly sends the wrong message. We know the message in history where you make your product look cheap, you make it seem cheap, then people are actually not going to buy it just because it's cheaper. They're going to see it as inconsequential, not as good as whatever they're thinking of. And that's kind of what ends up happening most of the time. It doesn't work. It doesn't play out the way you would think it does. So the next episode will be part 2 of the Budokan show from 1994 here, and that will be highlighted by the unification match of the All Pacific and IWA title. Yes, it's Manami Toyota versus Kyoko Inoue, 1994. Listen to that in the next episode. See you next time. Okay, it's time for the Rickee block. And that Adam Cole MJF music is here.
So they're a tag team.
Okay. So I got a nice glass of plantation rum.
Lovely.
Jamaican, very dark, I might add. And I'm here to drink to the fact that AEW told a good story with MJF Adam Cole.
See? And you were skeptical.
I was rightfully skeptical. But they
turned you around.
They turned me around. There's now a different issue. But I first want to say and concede that the story's good.
Okay.
They went the direction that they should have. They went with a different number of options. They ended up dropping a lot of the comedy shtick.
Yes.
Leading up to the match. The promos where MJF made fun of FTR bald. And it's like, oh, you talk about your kids and family and blah, blah, blah. Ha, ha. And then the next promo was, I love my kids and family. It's just proved him right.
Excellent.
And then it felt like a big match going in. I watched the Collision. And honestly, I think Collision has been a much better show than Dynamite over the last month.
I would say that's true for the most part.
Yeah, there was the 1 week Collision wasn't good at all.
Oof. It was a real bad week. Okay, so since we last spoke, the Collision right after we recorded was the 1 hour, 2 out of 3 falls. Excuse me. FTR versus Bing Bing Ging. And you and I haven't really talked about that match, have we?
No, we talked about that one in the last episode. This one was what we got to talk about is no, you're right. You're absolutely right, because that started the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, why did I think it was the main event? Yeah, that was excellent. It was 2 out of 3 falls, lasted an hour, and, I may not like FTR as kind of their characters, but when it comes to the in-ring and building a tag match, they are among the best I've seen in my lifetime. And when it comes to Jay White and Juice Robinson, now that Collision started and they're seemingly a big bullet point to Collision, Jay White has more time to speak, to shine, to get focus on. Finally. Finally. And Juice Robinson has really come into his own.
It's just a Muppet every week, and it's phenomenal.
It's fantastic. And the Guns are a good team to work with them. I think they have a lot to learn from Jay White and Juice Robinson in many regards. It's a huge point of interest for me to watch Collision on a weekly basis. The 2 out of 3 falls match is an easy tag team match of the year candidate. In fact, I have it as number 1 on my tag team list.
Reasonable.
Yeah. So, great success with that. And they turned it around with the MJF Adam Cole storyline with this, the lethal lottery thing. I think wasn't necessary, being that they told this Adam Cole MJF story. They didn't need the random team aspect of it all. Regardless, when it came to the finals match, they delivered, which was very enjoyable. And for Adam Cole and MJF to hug it out at the end of it, I like that ending. I like the satisfaction. I felt satisfied. They're hot. They feel important. Nobody wanted to see them actually break up yet. There's so much more legs to it. And FTR retains their titles, which keeps legitimacy with the tag titles, that this makeshift team couldn't just come in and beat them in a makeshift team tournament. I like all that. No issue at all. Now, where AEW is really baffling me in 2023, and it's very, very obvious now, is we are a month from All In and All Out, mind you. And you would hardly know that this show exists. We don't know any matches. They hardly talk about it on TV. It's barely mentioned at all. We have no, like, inkling over what matches are even going to be on the show. And you could argue that, okay, you had to wait for Forbidden Door. You had to wait for Blood and Guts. Well, you don't have to, because they're in their own universe of matches. Blood and Guts is one match with two teams, essentially.
Right.
Ring of Honor is a completely separate entity, by all accounts. So I don't know what we're waiting for, and it feels cold. And this has been an issue with AEW all year with their pay-per-views. They build them way too late. The stories are... I can't even call them slow. Everything is rushed so weak. It doesn't make it for entertaining television when everything feels like it's on a week-to-week basis. Kind of like how we watch Nitro now. I can't really see the continuity from episode to episode, even from the old AEW
I agree.
Storytelling, from what we've gotten used to over the last number of years. 2023 has been very weird.
I heard an interesting theory, especially about All In, that, and it's a online kind of conspiracy theory, but maybe Tony Khan was waiting to hit a certain number of tickets just so he could say, I sold 75,000 tickets without having announced a match, something like that. But like, that seems a stretch, B, very WWE, C, not like him to not build stories. Like, I get not knowing what's going to happen on All Out without knowing what's going to happen on All In, but you've got to know something. And it doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel like a $70,000 person show. This should be huge.
It feels like a house show in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
There just happens to be 70,000 people there, plus, who cares? Whatever. It's only going to be one of the biggest wrestling shows of all time, attendance-wise and gate-wise, and all these things.
Yep.
I've been going on this All Japan women's wrestling journey for historical purposes and catalog. No one else has even come close to doing what I've done. And I'm close to the Big Egg Wrestling universe. I did Dream Slam in '93. Like, I've cataloged every episode. There's over 100. There's close to 100 episodes now of AJW. And the closer I get to this Big Egg show, every single thing in AJW, in the press, in the news, from the end of 1993, is all building towards this one show, which is going to be the biggest women's wrestling show of all time. Like, every single thing. If a women's show in the fucking early 90s can make something like that feel like it's the biggest must-see event ever, then why can't a Major League Wrestling promotion on TNT television in prime time on 2 shows make it feel like that? It's so... Nothing about it makes sense to me. from a marketing standpoint, business standpoint, and just a fan perspective of how it's built. I'm so lost even trying to even fathom what's going on here.
Yeah, I have no answers for you. I don't know.
And because of that, the TV feels the TV Dynamite in particular, not so much Collision, but in Dynamite in particular, outside of Blood and Guts, there is such a disconnect with me on that week-to-week basis that I find myself less interested more than ever in this wrestling show.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone. There's a lot of dissent around AEW in general lately, not just around the women's division.
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't you worry.
Well, I was going to say, we will get to that. Don't really know what's happening. They are starting to heat up certain things, but you're right. It seems to be Collision. They're heating up the CM Punk, Ricky Starks thing. They're heating up Club Gold. They're heating up Luchasaurus and Christian. It's all Saturday night stuff.
Which I understand. But Collision is its own thing, mostly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They have their main characters there, and I do enjoy that. You know, you want to see CM Punk, you got to turn into Collision. I understand those things. That's fine. And then you have some wrestlers that can pop up show to show. Really doesn't matter. You got to make something about these shows feel different, and I think they've done a good job in doing that. Mm-hmm. Where it loses me is things like this CM Punk Ricky Starks story. This makes no sense to me. It's losing me. CM Punk comes out with a fake title. He calls himself the champion. So Tony Khan loves his tropes, every trope in the book, where it's got to be an interim title, a fake title. It's this and that. CM Punk draws an X like he's the NWO on Monday Nitro, right? Over the title belt, and I'm just rolling my eyes so hard. And then here's where it gets like, and that's just a me complaint. Where it gets strange is Ricky Starks, who's been a babyface for ages at this point, and everybody wants to cheer him.
Yes.
Everybody's booing CM Punk for the most part. I've been at those shows live. Right?
Yep.
And so here we have a booked babyface in CM Punk calling himself a fake world champion, drawing an X over Elite, being booed by the crowd, and then Ricky Starks, who's a heel, being cheered by the crowd.
Yeah.
This shit doesn't work.
Yeah, not well executed.
Like I
think the execution was fine, actually. I think it's fun to have Ricky as like as a heel that people like. I think that's fine. But against Punk, just trying to get the baby face sympathy doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't get it. And ironically, if what they're going for is trying to divide an audience, if this is what they're going for, I'm a Collision guy versus Dynamite guy, Elite versus Punk camp, then they might be succeeding in that.
Maybe.
If that's if that's the goal, I don't know why you would want to do that, but I guess it would play a competing element against your own company, which in a weird way is kind of what made WWE successful, in the sense of the only thing that was successful in their sense of a brand split is making it feel like, not even feel, you tell people something long enough, then they will believe it. It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So what'd you think of that Ricky Starks CM Punk match? I thought it was like just okay. And
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, the roll-up finish I was not about. I was like, I don't know.
Yep. It was fine.
CM Punk's first loss is via roll-up, and now we have this weird tweener thing. Willow Nightingale won the women's Owen Hart tournament, which is good.
Yes, she did.
But again, then she turns around and So you have Ricky Starks going after a fake title. He's the winner of the Owen Hart. Now and then you had Willow going after the Ring of Honor title. Great match. We'll talk about it. But
Yep.
Again, there's that just weird disconnect. Like, you win this tournament that's been on television for a while, and the two winners are going after kind of not the prizes people kind of associate with AEW success.
Yeah. That's a good point. What are they after? Nothing.
What are they after? Okay. I just want to make this comment. Miro is stealing money from this company. This guy, every week, it's just squash matches and weird promos, and then he goes home. What the fuck?
It's fantastic, and I love it.
I don't understand.
I don't either. I honestly don't, but I'm okay with it for now, as long as it goes somewhere.
Let's see. Bunch of ladders throughout AEW. Ladder match, Andrade against Buddy Matthews. That was a long match.
That was fun. That was fun. Period. Fun.
Darby Allin, Minoru Suzuki. That was all right.
Out of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, it was out of nowhere.
Okay.
Orange Cassidy, AR Fox on Dynamite. That was good. Very much enjoyed that.
That was very good.
I liked the swerve AR Fox angle playing out with the Darby Allin match. I enjoyed that.
Yes. Okay, there's some story. Okay, there is some stories that they're telling in Dynamite then.
There is some elements,
They've been telling the Pacific Northwest story, the Darby Swerve, Nick Wayne story for a while. Orange is caught up in it. Orange is still defending that title like a maniac. He's, the wheels are slowly falling off though, right? I mean,
right.
Sooner or later,
I mean, we've been saying that for 2 months now.
I know. But sooner or later, something's going to happen, and not going to be good for him. What else?
Well,
I was going to say something else.
Do we talk about it?
What?
Do we talk about this women's division thing?
Oh boy.
Okay. So there's been a lot of talk over the AEW women's division, how to improve it. It seems like it's a quarterly topic, and nobody actually has the solutions to it. The solution to a lot of people is simply give them more time, stop booking at 9:17 to 9:20, and sign more women. That's not the answer.
No.
And I've seen the post of like a list of the roster and the amount of supposed injuries that's going on. But here's to me the thing. There's not enough variety in how they book. That's a major thing. When was the last time? Tell me the last time you remember a tag team women's match on AEW.
It must have been an Outcasts versus Originals before Amy's injury.
Had to be months ago. Could we maybe? We're like assuming maybe one this year, but it's always a singles match. It's always people that you haven't seen in weeks.
Right, because they have to rotate them in and out because they only give them one segment a week.
Right, they only give them one segment, one match. No matter what show it is, you get one. Okay, but would even booking them more help? Okay, what if they keep the 9:17 time frame and everyone gets one, but you book the same consistent women on all three of these shows? Like you can
tell the story,
right, and then you can tell a story with your 4 women or whatever. But we just don't see these people. It's okay, and then
I don't. Yeah.
Second of all, the talent's not great. The talent does not get reps. They don't develop, and the talent that are there, most of them aren't very good.
I think everyone's improving, but
It's
you
too
can't
slow.
improve if you're not getting the reps. Exactly.
Right.
And I mean, Britt Baker isn't doing the indies on the weekends. She's dentisting on her off days.
Dentisting, I love
that. So yeah, she's not picking up, picking up matches on her off days. Although she has improved in the 4 years she's been in AEW. But
Colorado Rockies breaking news.
Oh no.
So we know that they just traded CJ Crone and Randall Grichuk away.
I don't even care.
Right? It's like their two best players.
I know, but like, I'm not surprised. But continue. What's the breaking news?
Grichuk just homered in his first game as an Angels.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. Can't get a home run at Coors Field, but the second he steps up in Halo's town, he puts on the samurai helmet.
I mean, oh man. Oh boy.
All right. Colorado sucks, we know that. Well, I'm sorry. The Rockies suck.
Rockies suck.
Okay. So I put out a tweet. It was this like thinking about it because we'll talk about it now because it's really the only thing I want to talk about with Ring of Honor is the Athena Willow Nightingale match because everything else was like thrown together. There was no build to anything. It was the main event because it was the only thing with a semblance of a story and build to it, which is a low bar, by the way. Mm-hmm. But the Athena Willow match was amazing. It's one of the best AEW women's matches in the last 4 years of this company. It's high on a short list. Unfortunately, it's short. And it got universal praise. It was a fantastic match. It's like a legit 4.25, 4.5 Big Dave Meltzer star scale type match. I went full 3. Didn't question it. Very much enjoyed it. I have my critiques of it, naturally, and I'll talk about that in a second. The point is, I put out a tweet that said, could this match be the thing that motivates one Tony Khan to realize, if you give women a chance, remember that phrase, and they deliver, maybe you should reward them and give them more opportunities to prove themselves. Or at least give them a chance, right? Could this... I even went as far in saying, could this be a catalyst, much like the Bayley-Sasha match from NXT years and years ago? Okay?
Yeah.
It sparked...
And then what did he book on Dynamite that week?
The second he had a follow-up, the very second, it was Taya Valkyrie against Britt Baker, and my eyes lit up. And I go...
Oh my god, it was so bad.
And I went, oh my god, I have to watch that match live, because that is just about one of the worst skilled matches you could possibly put on television. Which goes to show that this man has no eye for women's wrestling talent.
Yeah. That's a great point.
So they proceeded, Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah.
A few days later, one of the greatest women's matches in company history.
Yep.
Followed up with one of the worst matches in company history.
It was so slow. It was so slow. And I don't even understand why Taya is still getting big television opportunities. She keeps losing.
She loses and she's no good. She's no good.
I mean, we've talked about Taya to death. I like her character work and what she can do, what she did in Impact, because that was the place for that, right?
That was 8 years ago.
But yeah, exactly.
Guess what?
Oh, and
even if an athlete was good a decade ago,
yeah,
doesn't mean they're good now.
Yeah, and also her promo where she called out Britt Baker for that match was not good either.
That was weird. Yeah, she had a match.
I mean, she
Collision.
was exhausted.
Yeah,
but
she gets blown up in 10 seconds.
Yeah,
she's got no knees, no back. She doesn't bump. She can't run.
Yeah,
she can't do moves. She's botching like her own flapjack moves and dropping people. And oh my god, like a crazy moment in that match is when Britt Baker hits this actually good spinning elbow shot.
Yeah. Oh
and
my gosh. Yeah.
Taya Valkyrie goes down, and then there's like a weird pause, and she stands right back up.
Yeah.
And you just hear the crowd go, "Oh." Like, well,
did you see what the overall match rating was on Cage Match?
So I'm looking at it now. So what's happened was.
We do have to talk about what happened after that match, too.
Well, what's happened with this cage match rating is the original rating, which I took a screenshot of.
Okay.
Before it started going viral. Okay.
Okay.
The original rating at just under 100 votes. So that's pretty much like the people of what they really think of the match was at like a 1.81. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got twice that now, and what's happened is people are trying to defend it. Okay. So it's gone up to what is it, a 2.34 now?
It's a 2.37 right now.
Okay.
But no one has rated it over a handful of people rated it a 7.
Yeah, they're high.
That's not real.
Yeah.
No one, there are no major votes over 4. So
nor should there be.
Right.
Honestly,
so what happened after
that qualifies as like a 0 type match for me, a dud. It was that bad.
It was terrible. It was so bad that AEW production focused on a sign in the crowd after that match that said, "Book the women better."
Right. And it's caused
That's
a
how
stir.
bad it was.
Yeah. Well, why is the production guy focusing on a sign like that in the first place? And then, of course, the jokes when I posted on Twitter, because I went, phenomenal production by AEW to focus in on something right after the women's match, one of the worst in company history. In the corner, there was a Sonic greater than Mario sign, which I laughed at.
Saw that.
Yeah, because that's what people were commenting. But it's been a plague of this division since essentially day one, and it's only gotten seemingly worse over the years. And now there's a lot of political talk going around in the locker room. You ask around. Saraya, Taya Valkyrie have their crew. Thunder Rosa has their crew. Britt Baker has their crew. Everyone's very segregated. No one's together. It's a mess internally in the division. It's a mess booking wise with who's on top. And I'm sticking with my Jeff Jarrett conspiracy. I'm so sticking with it. No one can tell me otherwise. He is one of those voices in the room. And Tony Khan has it's come out and said like this guy has no interest in women's wrestling. He just Dave Meltzer on his own message board posted, this man studied wrestling history. He studied ECW the most, which honestly, you just watch his TV shows and you see it.
Sure.
Because a telltale sign of a booker is how he books, right? And that's his fandom. Right? That's what he generally, most bookers book to what they like.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And that's their prerogative.
Right.
Like,
it's fine. If it's good, it's
theirs,
well, the point is if you got to book for your audience, not you. Right?
Yeah.
That's
always been the critique of Vince, right? That's always
right.
They've said like an audience of one.
Right. The further he pulls away, the more it's connecting with the audience. Go figure. So with Tony Khan and what Meltzer said about him, it's like this guy studied history. He studied ECW fanatically. He studied Jim Crockett, Midwest, Mid-South, Florida South, all Georgia South, like all these things, right? What did he not ever study? All Japan Women Wrestling.
Yeah.
Never had an interest. And he was a tape trader, so those tapes like made, especially in that sector that he was part of, like if it wasn't for Meltzer, All Japan Women would have never been covered, and he was part of it. So anyways, to me, there's really just no excuse for the women's division at this point. There's a clear no interest in it from the company.
Yep.
It's literally a checkbox on a piece of paper that they can then put away. Because it's consistently, since day one, the only thing that is neglected time and time again.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say. It is Yeah.
Yeah.
It needs something.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Okay. So Ring of Honor, did you watch this whole pay-per-view?
I did.
Thoughts?
Overall,
I have more to say over the main event.
I thought all of the matches were good to very good, for maybe one. That was just okay.
What was the one?
I don't have the match card in front of me right now.
Samoa Joe, Dalton Castle?
No, I thought that was at least very good.
Gravity Commander?
Oh, it was like a weird tag match in the middle of the card. Multi-man match.
Oh, the 6-man titles with like Master Wato and company?
Yeah,
okay,
that was
yeah.
just okay. That was just okay. I thought Gravity Commander was a great way to start the show. High energy, flippy guys doing flippy things. I do think Samoa Joe and Dalton Castle could have been better, but I like both guys a lot, and so my bias plays in, and I thought it was fun. The tag team 4-way match for the belts I thought was really fun, and I think putting it on Aussie Open is the right move. I think Lucha Brothers need to head back to AEW and do their Death Triangle thing.
See, that's such a weird stance people are taking. Like something was stopping them from being booked on AEW television.
I mean, something was. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was these belts or not.
But they were booked on Ring of Honor on these wacky Honor Club shows that are mostly just squash matches and enhancement talent. Like,
nobody's watching that.
I know, but people are like, oh, thank God Lucha Brothers lost the titles, so now they could be booked. Like, that was a hindrance. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. I did like the stories that they set up there, though, between Lucha Brothers and Best Friends. Although, if you didn't watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and then you watched AEW television that week, you had no idea. Even though they tried to, tell you on commentary what happened, it's not the same.
Yeah, they tried. I do wish. You know what? I will make a good WWE comment here. You ready?
Okay.
When it comes to things like that, especially on like pay-per-views and stuff, if you're telling stories that can continue onto television, and you want to like plug and reference the pay-per-view, then I remember as a kid it would always be this like highlight reel picture-in-picture type thing where it's like, last Saturday at Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, the Lucha Bros and Aussie Open and company, Lucha Bros lost the tag titles, Best Friends were involved, and they'd show like screenshots of what's happening, and it's like, oh, and if you want to see this match and what happened for yourself, go order the pay-per-view, but here we go. And they told the story with using the visuals. That's very good reference making. That I do enjoy that, because it takes the same amount of time to say it, and now you have the visual reference. Yeah. And when you have the visual reference, it connects with people much stronger. I wish AEW would do that.
The AEW, so like you're saying, like WWE still to this day only shows still shots from their pay-per-views when they're doing recaps.
Right.
AEW has shown motion graphics, like video clips from pay-per-views. I don't think one way is necessarily better than other, because the whole point is to get people to buy the show. Yeah, there needs to be more, especially if you're crossing Ring of Honor and AEW.
Right. Even
people are going to watch.
Yeah, even when it comes to Blood and Guts, which we actually didn't talk about. We forgot about that.
Whoops.
We'll go back to that in a second. But when it comes to Blood and Guts, like the next week, on Collision, you need to reference that show and
Yes.
show like still shots and those things, like what a battle they went through. The reason why the Elites aren't here on Dynamite tonight is because they went through this war, Kota Ibushi, and it all you have to do is show like Omega and Ibushi like picking tacks out of their backs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and they're all like disheveled and beaten up and everything, and do things like that.
Yep.
Just don't have them off shows for a week or two. Like, why is Takeshita not there with Don Callis? Have Don...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, show them walking out, and then you can make a reference. It's like, Takeshita walked out of the match, and he was... You know, Don Callis said, hey, get out of town for a week or two and go wrestle in DDT and go beat up, this guy. You know, and then you get your little crossover as well. It's just I'm so annoyed with the advertising and the lack of advertising, the lack of self-plugs, the lack of, like, bragging about your company is weirdly annoying to me with AEW.
Sorry, I was sneezing. The lack of bragging, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Bragging about the company. Yeah, they should be all about like, holy shit, look at what we can do. Look at what we did. Look at
The
this
number one
amazingness.
show on television last week because of this brutal
Yeah.
match that just happened. Like, they never do anything like that.
Yeah, what the hell? I don't know.
And then you have documentaries coming on WWE where they're calling it a secondary company. Well, maybe it is.
Ooh.
Maybe it is.
Is that what they say in the Cody?
Yeah. They call it a
segment? They
secondary
call it
company.
secondary?
Cody led a company. Yeah, they use interesting keywords and phrases to subtly put down AEW as not as good or major league as WWE. But more I'm thinking about it, maybe they aren't.
I don't know, man.
They just have a house show going on in London. Who cares, right?
A show with 70,000 people.
Yeah.
The rest of the before we go
70,000
back to
secondary
Blood and
fans, more like it.
Before we go back to Blood and Guts, let's finish up Ring of Honor, and I have to mute myself again for 1 second.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of the multi-man tags. Like, a lot of the matches were fine and to good. Some were better than others. I enjoyed Katsuri Shibata, Daniel Garcia. Garcia's a menace with his dancing. That was good. Very much enjoyed that. I'm over plunder matches, especially coming just after Blood and Guts. I am, like, totally out on this Dark Order, the Righteous storyline. It's so weird.
I was there for the drama of this match, but you're absolutely right. The violence of it, like, we just had Blood and Guts. I could not. I just
Bad timing.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, I thought the storytelling in that match was very good. I thought Pac versus Claudio. Obviously, Pac is my favorite. So I love anytime he has an outing. However, I don't know if he just wasn't the guy. I mean, I thought they had good chemistry and it was a very good match. I just don't know that this match was like necessary or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, okay. So the match was
Pac died, like,
supposed
3
to be
times.
set up originally with Eddie Kingston and Claudio again.
Oh no! It was supposed to be Mark Briscoe.
No, that was after the Eddie Kingston thing was happening because he was in the G1.
And then he signed the G1. Okay.
And then he was like, you can't tell me you didn't know about that months prior,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And if you didn't, then it's like, sorry, I have you booked for this pay-per-view. That's the story we're going with for the second pay-per-view in a row. You can't let him go. Sorry, business is business kind of situation. So poor planning there. And then there was the Mark Briscoe thing, which to me also makes no sense because Briscoe was on the last pay-per-view losing to Samoa Joe. So to me, the story's there. I don't know what he has to do with the main event and the Claudio story because he was feuding with like Jeff Jarrett and shit forever. So then he blows his ACL or MCL or TCL or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they just throw Pac in there with the walkout at Blood and Guts, and it's a cold match. It's good. It was a good match. And then they have the shit finish.
Right.
I hated that finish. I hated all that post-match stuff. Wheeler Yuta and a simple distraction, and then it was just elbow, bang, we're done, we're out of here. That to me, that wasn't particularly Tony Khan booking. That is scapegoat booking by someone else. Just a hunch.
I don't know.
Yeah. It was very cop out. I was not satisfied. And then luckily Athena was here to save the day, just like she has with Ring of Honor for the last calendar year.
Yeah. And I believe it was the first time the women have main evented a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Oh,
it was the
history
first,
all over the place.
It was the first time women have main evented a Ring of Honor or AEW pay-per-view at all.
Wait, there's been no women's main event of an AEW pay-per-view?
No. There is not. And I think there's only been 2 like Dynamites that have had AEW main events.
Was it the 2 oh no, one of those was Rampage. I was going to say the 2 street fights. So obviously Britt versus Thunder Rosa was the first one.
That was the first one, and then
I was going to say,
and then the second one was the cage match that didn't go so well.
Oh, the cage match. Okay, yeah. Because I was going to say, was it the tag match with Anna Jay? And then I was like, no, that was a Rampage match.
And I believe that was like the opener.
I don't remember.
Serves. It doesn't matter. It's Rampage. It doesn't hit the same way.
Doesn't matter. But you know what? It's not surprising that they haven't made an event at an AEW pay-per-view because they haven't told a story that was worth a main event.
Right, and they haven't put in the investment to do anything like good with it in the first place. The talent's always below par as well, but like Willow has vastly improved. Vastly improved. She's one of the better workers on the roster now, and Athena is incredible. I'm still upset that she's been on Ring of Honor all this time.
Agreed.
Like, it doesn't matter that she's great when she's on something that no one watches, and then you have 2 to 3 television shows where you're struggling for talent, and with all these injuries, why are you holding a top talent like this on a paywall show?
I don't understand.
It's so weird to me. Okay, so the match itself, again, I loved it. It was great. It was hard-hitting. They did almost everything right. I loved the kick out of the O-Face. I loved then Athena kicking out of the Doctor Bomb.
Yep.
Hitting another O-Face. What was funny to me was they started doing all these like moves you've never seen before.
A history of women's wrestling, you mean?
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay. So Ian Riccoboni and company are yelling and screaming about how much they're referencing past. They're saying Ring of Honor talent and wrestlers, summer champions.
Yeah. Okay.
And I go, okay, first of all, this title doesn't mean shit. Like, stop pretending. Like, it's never meant anything prior to Athena. Like,
right.
Let's stop there. Then they're talking about all this Shimmer history and talent. Like, anyone outside of the Chicago suburbs really knows anything about that. They're talking about Daisy Hayes and, they're naming names that like, I'm a women's wrestling fan and I hardly know who these people are, right? Let alone their like signature and finishing moves. When you start going, oh my god, that's Sumi Sakai's finisher. It's like, okay, so you need the reason why, like in WWE or even like Impact now, when someone hits a Styles Clash at Impact, or in WWE if someone hits, I don't know, a Tombstone Piledriver, there's a legit embedded history in the promotion with that move. That's why people react to it. You hit a... Fuck, what'd they hit in this match? It was... Because I just thought it was like a cool move. I go, okay, that's different. Sure. They can't put each other away. They're putting out new shit. That would have been fine.
She's never used. Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, they're trying all these things I've never seen before. And then you have commentary screaming at me, oh my god, that's what's-his-face from Shimmer in 2011. Like,
and then they just stopped naming the women, too. Right. They were just like, they're like, Fuck it.
So, that was more because if they didn't say anything, I would have just thought that it was cool shit that they were doing.
Yes, agreed.
It's a rare instance where the commentary is
cool.
trying to reference and tell a story, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and that is rare.
Yeah, rare instance. This rum is fantastic. I'm having a good time drinking this.
Oh, good. I have been.
How's your Benadryl?
No Benadryl today.
Oh, okay.
I have had a migraine.
Little Benadryl, vodka, jungle juice going on.
No. I've had a migraine since like Thursday.
How do you have a migraine for like 6 days?
It kind of waxes and wanes. And it's just been a persistent dull headache since Thursday, but I've had.
Is it in your neck?
No.
So okay. Well, that's good.
That was. No, but I do get. I do get the aura, migraine aura. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Is that when you get a little dizzy or something?
No, it's like a visual migraine. So the way I describe it, and it's different for different people. My mom gets an aura, and she describes hers as when you look over a fire and you see like the wavy, you can like see the heat.
Oh.
That's like what hers look like. Mine look like when you are outside on a really bright day, and then you walk into a dark room and your eyes do that adjust thing. That's what my
and then it like
look like.
Pops your head and you just freak out a little bit.
So sometimes I get an aura and I don't get a headache. Sometimes I just get the aura. It lasts for like 15, 20 minutes, it goes away, and that's my migraine. This one that I've had for 5 days is just.
I don't know if this helps at all, but I went to a migraine specialist because I had frequent migraines constantly as a kid and teenager.
Oh no.
And then I went to a migraine specialist, and he gave me like antibiotic pills of some kind, which like it weirdly like relieved pressure behind my eyes and like ears, and I've never had those migraines since.
So I have a preventative that I haven't been taking regularly. So I need to make sure I'm taking that regularly. And then I do have something that treats the symptoms pretty well.
Yeah. The presiding theory with mine, though, was I went to a elementary middle school with black mold, and I was infected.
Oh.
That was the presiding theory.
Holy crap.
Didn't know about that until like a decade later when the school got shut down for that shit. I was like, oh, that's why.
That's a problem.
But anyways.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the fucking G1, or I guess Blood and Guts kind of speaks for itself, eh?
Let's stuck in Blood and Guts. I was just gonna say my migraine, the recent one, has been the change in the barometric pressure out here. Anytime the weather changes like drastically a lot and it goes back and forth, I get migraines. Just is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's super great. I love it. I might have to leave Colorado. I don't know.
I don't know if that's like the true reason, but maybe.
It is.
Okay.
Anyway.
I will play.
Blood and Guts?
Okay, Blood and Guts. Ibushi kind of looked like shit, but he came out and said it was because he wore the wrong shoes and he was like afraid to step in the tacks and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all right, I guess. I liked the story that they told. I thought it was more confined to what Blood and Guts was. I got hyped for a lot of the people coming in and out of the match. I still like someone's getting the shit kicked out of them, and the finish is someone surrenders for them because you want to protect your teammate. They've done that seemingly throughout all 3 Blood and Guts. And then, just violent, crazy spots. It's These blood and guts matches are very consistent, and I'm entertained throughout all of them, so that's important. And I've seen all of those War Games matches from WCW, and with the exception of that like one everyone references from like 1990, what was that, 1 or 2? You know, all of them are bad to me, except the one.
Okay.
They're very daunting and boring, and you know, these blood and guts matches always try to kind of do crazy shit within and be unique to each other in their own ways. I mean, was it Matt Jackson who went on top of the cell and he's raining thumbtacks through it?
Yes.
That rules.
Yes.
That rules. Yep. That's why in that first one, when Medusa climbs the cage and she drops the giant like 1980s phone down and they start using it as a brick weapon. That shit's cool. Like that's the funny stuff that works.
Yeah. Yeah. This was the best blood and guts match of the 3. It wasn't perfect though.
No.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
Ibushi's appearance wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be at all in any way, shape, or form. I liked the part where he was the only guy free and he started freeing everybody from their submission holds. It took forever. Like you said, like he was walking like an old man, but apparently it was because his shoes were thin and he was stepping on thumbtacks the whole time. And then we missed the ending, right? Like Moxley supposedly like threw in the towel to save Yuta.
Again, AEW production and the commentators, it's just totally botched and missed everything about the ending. I'm so confused over all this. There's so many flubs to it all.
So in a blood and guts match.
Gesundheit.
Sorry, that's a cough now. I don't know what the hell's happening with me. In a blood and guts match, I think it's okay when production misses certain spots in like throughout the match because it's chaotic, right? There's too much going on for them to catch everything at exactly the right time. But they shouldn't miss the fucking ending.
Don't miss the finish. Like,
dear Lord.
And smarten your commentators up to it. I know they insist on like being shocked to it, but when it's all missed, it falls apart. Okay.
Problem.
Let's talk about some New Japan now.
Yay!
See if I can get this Will Ospreay United Empire theme going.
Okay.
Yeah. I usually play as elevated one because I like it so much.
Sorry, I like the United Empire one.
Elevated! Oh, elevated!
Now I'm ready for do.
There we go, got it. Oh, there. Come on, play. No!
You want me to just sing it? I'll just sing it.
What, the United Empire one? What? That's elevated.
That's elevated? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's which. I mix them up all the time. Jason keeps telling me I'm singing the wrong one too.
Let's play.
I have no idea.
United Empire.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Don't buffer on me. Oh, it's a disaster. No. Oh, it's playing again. Pour some more rum as this is playing. Rockin', Rickee.
Okay.
Rockin'. It's going. All right, enough of that. I played that forever. Couldn't help myself.
Gracious.
Look, I refilled the rum. I refilled the rum, love. It's very important.
Why is the rum gone?
Why? That's what I said with my glass. Why is the rum gone?
Why is the rum gone?
I have to talk to G1 and the rum is gone. This is very important. Rum is gone. No. Okay. Tell me your thoughts, or like we're basically like a match or two out from all these wrestlers, and we're gonna do the quarterfinals. It's very obvious to me with the Women's World Cup on, which has been a blast to watch, by the way.
So fun.
Alex Pop is my hero. I love her so much. She's the German star. Alex Morgan's amazing. I love her too. I like all the U.S. women's national team. But anyways, they went with the like World Cup format where the top two in a group essentially will go on, and then you have the quarterfinals, like A versus B in each one. I like this format. The problem is a lot of these wrestlers are no good. We got a lot of like Zambias out there, and not enough Swedens. Know what I mean?
No, I definitely do, because I fell super far behind in this tournament, and so I started just watching the like top rated matches from each night instead of watching all nights, just to kind of get caught up. And I realized that there are several wrestlers who I just haven't watched because they haven't put on a decent match in this tournament. I mean, whatever.
Have you
I'm talking like
a Tamatonga or not a Tonga Loa match?
I have not watched a Tonga Loa match. I have not watched a Ren Narita match. I haven't watched
a Ren Narita match.
Nope. I haven't watched a...
Actually, no. He has been kind of like nothing throughout this G1.
Okay.
Now that you say it out loud, I agree.
I think of who else I haven't watched.
Kenta has been like abysmal.
I watched Kenta Ospreay.
That was good. That was fine.
Which I really liked.
Yeah. Went 2 out of 3 on that one.
That's the only Kenta match I watched.
Oh, good. Don't watch the others. They're bad. I cut him off almost immediately. That dude is done.
Damn.
Tonga Loa, though, is an atrocity in the ring right now. He's a t-shirt. He's out of shape. He's blown up in 2 seconds. There's a Tonga Loa Kenta match on night 1.
Oof.
That is just... Oof. It's like not... They didn't botch anything. They're just, like, bad.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay. So we have... To me... What is this text message in real time? What is happening? No, go away. Stop. Snooze. Okay. The 2 things that have stood out to me the most is Will Ospreay can do no wrong.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, I'd be totally out of this G1 right now.
Yep.
The 20-minute time
almost. Yeah.
The 20-minute time limit's interesting and a good. It's a good number. I actually wish the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix had that. But just like I was saying on the 5-star Grand Prix reviews in Stardom that's going on the Patreon, every single show is being reviewed on the Patreon. For the 5-star Grand Prix, where the first year they implemented the 15-minute time limit, it took that whole, we'll call it a season, for them to nail the time frame down, right? And now this one, they have a much better idea of how to like nail their times to make the match more exciting. I feel that this G1 is suffering through that because they're so used to like these 30 and 40-minute matches, especially Okada, that they're now learning this new time limit frame without going to the time limit every time.
Right.
You know, so it's gonna. I think if they do this again next year, the matches are gonna hit way better because they can time everything out better.
Mm-hmm.
The second story is this: these young lions and young guys that are in the G1 this year between Yota Tsuji, Gabriel Kidd, Coughlin, Ren Narita, Shota Umino, like all these guys. Because they were the big talking point to me over what they're going to do and how they're going to perform.
Yep.
And wrestling-wise, I think it's been fine. I don't think they've hit like any high level in particular with me. Maybe the Sonata Yota Tsuji match part 2 was good.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
When it comes to their booking, the booking strategy behind them is they really have to earn it, and they're not ready at the level yet. Despite the fact, to me as a fan, with them branding them as the new Three Musketeers, and Yota Tsuji coming to the main event of Dominion, and then Narita being like in like mini Shibata, Shota Umino is like being all these things. I get that they're drawing each other. But then they're losing matches to people that don't make real sense. Like, why were they losing to Hikuleo? Like, why are they? You know, I know a couple of them went to a draw with Kidomiya from Noah, but you know, I'm watching this Gabriel Kidd Kaito Kiyomiya match, and
oh my god,
it went to a count out. There was a lot of fire in it for sure. It would have helped if Gabriel Kidd didn't do that every single one of his matches. Where he jumps a guy and then they walk and brawl Jeff Jarrett style for a while. By the way, did you see on Dynamite 200 they're booking the Elite versus Jeff Jarrett squad?
I sure did.
Yeah, Tony Khan needs to be arrested, like immediately.
Hey, some people are into it.
No,
I don't know how to tell you.
No, they're trolling. They're not actually.
I don't know.
No,
some people are into it.
They're lying to themselves. They need medical attention. I'm very worried for their health.
Fine, I'm with you, but
yeah. So there's definitely a part of me that's very disappointed that we're clearly in this new era of New Japan, and they aren't pulling the true trigger on the new talent. It's still about the Gotos and Naitos and Tanahashi, and they're not like, well, Tanahashi's basically completely washed. Naito's basically there. Goto is beat up. Like, these guys are, to me, they're kind of done. And I think the time is now to pull the trigger, and with the way they have it set up, it's not indicative of something that's exciting me right now. Perhaps they can do that later in the year with other matches. Maybe there's still time on it, but I just don't know the time frame on a lot of these guys that got to put these new guys over. Because there is such a thing as it's too late when you know someone's like done, and then they finally lose. It's not as impactful, not nearly as impactful as just beforehand. When you truly recognize as a fan that this guy's washed and done and he's retiring or whatever it might be, or he's, you know, you get where I'm going with that. You need to capitalize on putting someone over when the person is not even closest to their peak, but at least on the downswing. So you're telling your audience this new person is now here to take that spot, essentially. Or at least compete for the spot on equal footing.
Yep. You hear that?
Wait, you got a storm going on out there?
Yeah, can you hear it?
I did, yeah. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I saw like the lightning flash and things going on.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
Let's hope my internet holds up through the end of this.
Yeah, well, if we can't discuss WCW Nitro, I mean, oh, man, I'll be so sad.
Dude, I woke up at 6:30 this morning.
We have to discuss it because we suffered watching it.
We suffered it through it. I'm gonna talk about it.
All right, so what stood out with the G1 to you? Eddie Kingston and shit, that kind of stuff. That's been good.
I was happy to see Eddie. I didn't think his matches. So the two that I watched Eddie and Shingo, and I watched Eddie and Ishii.
That one's one of the best of the tournament.
Yeah. That was fucking great. I really, that same night, I really liked Jeff Cobb versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Love that one too. I actually preferred that match over the Ishii Kingston one, weirdly enough.
What?
I preferred the Cobb Zack Sabre Jr. match over Kingston Ishii.
I kind of did too.
Yeah, weird.
We are weirdos, and we need to disagree more. It's more interesting when we disagree.
Maybe we'll disagree over Nitro. I'll give you a hint. I actually really liked one segment on Nitro. Yeah.
Listeners, I wish you could see the face I just made because I can't
guess which one. More on that later.
Of a segment that was enjoyable. What else have I liked so far? Those were okay. Actually, like everything from night 5 was good. Ospreay Kenta, Kiyomiya versus Shooter, Okada Taichi, and Sonata Tsuji.
Yeah, that was the Nagata show, right? Nagata?
I think so. It was in like I don't remember which.
Let's see.
That was like a multi-purpose type.
Day 5, right?
Night 5. Yeah.
Okay. Cage match Tag 5. Ooh, why didn't you load? Why are you not loading?
I don't know. Ooh, breaking news. Guess who's making their GCW debut next weekend? Or not next weekend. At the Showboat. Top star Becca making her GCW debut.
In my head, I was like thinking some Stardom talent is going to GCW again.
No.
And I'm like, do you have breaking news?
It's Becca. Oh, speaking of whom, I watched for funsies. I did turn on Becca versus Ava Everett from Limitless.
From Beyond? Oh,
from Limitless.
Match. Okay.
It was Friday or Saturday night. Just because I haven't seen the two of them together in quite some time, and they've both been working really hard. And let me tell you, it was a fine match. I'm not saying like go out of your way to see it. I'm not even saying see it. But it was from the first time I saw these two in the ring, like 2.5 years ago, maybe.
Oh yeah, they were dreadful.
I mean, these two are really putting in the work, and Becca, especially, she's starting to put it together. She's really, really, really starting to come into her own.
Well, fair enough. Okay, so this is fair enough between Everett and Becca. If we're talking about like indie development, and these two women, I do think they're better than the majority of the AEW roster.
You think Ava Everett and Becca are better than the AEW roster?
Most, many of them. Like Anna Jay, for sure. They're better in ring.
Definitely better than Anna.
And there's a lot of Anna Jay types in AEW. There are.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Oh, but we could run down the list.
I would need to look at the roster.
Yeah. You could look at the list and... Anyways, there's a reason why they're developing the way they are, and it's because they're putting in the work every weekend, and they're wrestling a large variety of opponents who are generally better than them. And most of them, to be honest, are men, because the women, there's not a lot of women talent out there, so if they're going to be on cards, they kind of have to be involved and wrestle men. So if you're not into that match, the point is they're wrestling people that can improve themselves.
Yep.
Shit. Didn't Ava Everett have that long feud with Aaron Rourke after Art?
So they all had, yeah. So Becca and Aaron were a team. No.
Well, anyways,
Ava and
Becca
Aaron
had
were
the
a
Alec
team,
Price
and
thing.
then,
Becca had the Anthony Green thing going on. Like, the point is, they're always vying to improve and put in the work to do that, while the AEW women aren't doing that.
Yes. Agreed.
There needs to be that drive to improve and put in the work. And the only way you're going to do that is, like, does Max Caster need to keep showing up on these Beyond Wrestling shows?
No, but he does, because he's getting the reps, and he's improved drastically since he's been doing Beyond Weekly.
What is stopping the women from doing what Max Caster is doing? Because he's getting booked more than them. What's
stopping them is because, nothing's stopping them, obviously, but for whatever reason, they're not as motivated. They're not seeking to improve.
Right. Whatever reason is.
They're like, well, I'm on TV. I have a paycheck. I don't need to get better.
A lot of people fall into that trap. No doubt.
Yeah.
But yet, Max Caster out here, who's way more over than any other woman on the roster at this point in time. He's going to these dinky New England shows.
Yep.
With me in the audience sometimes.
Yep.
And the proof is in the pudding. Max Caster's improved. How did we get onto this topic when we're talking about the G1?
I mentioned Becca.
Oh.
I saw breaking news that she's making her GCW debut.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, you were looking for something.
I was trying to pull up the... Oh, you know what? I was accidentally clicking the Road to Destruction Day 5 card, not the G1 Climax Day 5 card. Tag 5 aus Niigata, Japón. Nagaoka. At the Aori Nagaoka show. 2,361 people. The G1 attendance has been pretty low for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been looking at numbers, but you could tell from looking around each venue.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are big, but...
Yeah, Sonata, Yoda Tsuji, Okada Taichi, that one was good.
Yes.
Kaito, Shota Umino, 20-minute draw. Ospreay Kenta, yeah, that show was great. Great Okan Phantasmo was solid.
Did I watch that one? Hang on, I wrote down all the ones I watched. I watched a Great Okan match. It was not a Phantasmo. The Great Okan match that I watched was Ospreay. I watched every Ospreay match.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, that was the best night of the tournament by far.
There's been a lot of stinker shows, I think, where it's just everything's inessential viewing, 2 3-star type matches. Like, there's not a lot of substance to anything. The stories.
Night 6, I only watched one match. And I wasn't even sure I needed to watch it, but I watched Shingo versus Ishii.
Well, yeah, you always got to watch a match like that. You can kind of look at a card and just go, okay, I'm watching that one for sure.
Yep.
Tanahashi's been just pretty terrible in this tournament, to be honest.
I haven't watched a Tanahashi match.
Yeah, don't do it.
I haven't watched one.
It's very sad.
Oh. And then I guess we should talk about Ospreay Okada.
Yes. So that's my favorite match of the tournament. I rate it the highest, mostly because I'm invested in their storyline. I like their wrestling style. Ospreay is the guy I'm most invested in this G1. I want him to win, to be honest.
That's the point, right? Yeah.
And with how he's performing, I just don't see who the other option to win this tournament would even be.
Yeah, I don't think there is one.
He's just on a different level to it all. And when it came to the Ospreay Okada match, Ospreay beat him clean.
Yeah. In under 20 minutes.
In under 20 minutes. They'd never done that before, besides Okada beating him in under 20 years and years ago. And the finish, it didn't have the crazy finishing stretch to give you like that 4.5+ type of match.
Right.
It was just very definitive, which I always appreciate finishes like that. When you've established that this guy is on his level now.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reacting to the rain at my house. It is really loud.
Yeah. beats him with the Stormbreaker. I really love the face blade. The
face blade.
The face blade. Yeah. The face blade counter to the Rainmaker. That rocked.
Oh,
I love that. I just
yeah.
popped out of my seat. I just went, "Whoa, fuck!" Looks awesome. I love that match.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay. I guess we'll expect the quarterfinals, and we'll talk about it next episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh no, we gotta talk about WCW.
Oh no, what? What-oh? Oh
We gotta
no.
talk about WCW.
We do. Oh, and after this episode, we have a pay-per-view. I looked it up. Okay, so I looked up.
Hold on. WCW playing.
Okay.
All right. Your laughter as the Nitro theme played. It's just Nitro. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, so this is it's not really the go home show because there's a Thursday Night Thunder before.
No.
But
This is the go home show. We're not watching Thunder.
This is the go home show for Sold Out 2000, which so I took a look at Cage Match.
No, you weren't supposed to do that.
Just to see how the next few pay-per-views are rated.
Okay. All right.
Overall.
Uh-huh.
And of the next 5 pay-per-views, Sold Out is the highest rated one.
Oh no.
And I think they're definitely all under 5. I think they're all under 4.
Oh shit. I have never seen a WCW 2000 pay-per-view.
Me either. Go figure.
Yeah, there's good reason behind that. Okay.
So this is.
Did you see the card for Sold Out 2000?
No, I didn't look.
Okay, so before we go over this Nitro, based on what we saw, this is the go home show, and I play this game every time.
Okay.
Can you guess the card for WCW Sold Out 2000?
Okay, I can guess some of it.
Okay, so I'm gonna write these down. Let's see how close we get.
There's gonna be. Okay, hang on. Let me go to my notes.
I actually wrote down which matches I am positive is going to be on the show because they plugged it and advertised it throughout this Nitro in the past few weeks. Okay. But I want to hear what you can remember first.
So I think there's going to be Sid Vicious versus Bret Hart for the title.
Okay, yep, that's one of mine.
Okay. There's got to be DDP versus Buff Bagwell.
Definitely.
Got to be on the card.
DDP versus Buff. He's going to shoot his stuff all over DDP, I'm sure.
Hang on, I have to sneeze. That was gross, by the way. You, not me.
Well, I mean, he said it in a promo.
Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Wait, should we talk about the Nitro first and then?
No. We're doing the card now.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's got to be some NWO stuff. Jeff Jarrett versus, I don't know, Benoit. I don't know.
Okay, that is certainly a match they've advertised. The Triple Threat Theater. Remember?
No.
Where they're gonna do the singles match, like the bunkhouse brawl and the cage match.
Oh, right.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, isn't that what they did tonight?
Oh,
sort of.
That was a teaser for you to watch and buy the pay-per-view.
I did not even realize that they were talking about two different things. I thought that's what we got.
Yeah, and it's for the U.S. title as well.
So there's gonna be that.
Yeah.
There's gonna be Medusa versus Oklahoma, maybe. The cruiserweight belt?
That is another one they advertised. Correct. Good memory. I usually forget these things. I would have forgot them too if I didn't write them down. Medusa versus Oklahoma. The manager for Dr. Death Steve Williams is going to face Medusa in a man versus woman match for the cruiserweight title.
Yeah, and I have notes about that. There's also going to be something with David Flair and Daphne. I don't know what. But they're definitely going to be on the pay-per-view, I think.
I didn't get that.
Maybe not.
Okay, I got two.
If Kevin Nash has a match, I don't know what it is.
Me neither.
Oh, Tank Abbott has to have a match.
Tank Abbott, Jerry Flynn is the one that they've been teasing.
Okay.
Or plugging.
And
I know you're just dying to shell out $60 for that match on the card.
I think I'm done.
Booker T versus Stevie Ray is the last one.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Yep.
Which is, again, shell out $60 for that.
Well, I mean, they're brothers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Be still my heart. Okay. Yeah, those are all the matches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches that we are very sure
Predicting.
about. At least
from
what they tell us. No, we shouldn't look it up because we're going to watch the show and then review what we do.
Oh, but I want to know if we're right.
So what I generally did is I'd throw in like another match or two with some wacky doesn't make sense booking to try to guess.
Okay.
I think Scott Steiner's going to have a match.
Yeah.
Against, I don't know, Disco Inferno. How does that sound?
Gross.
It sounds like something WCW do, though, right?
It sounds like something they would do, yes.
Okay, so Scott Steiner fucking all the chicks in the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Versus Disco Inferno. Because he is a grifter that gets on these cards.
They're all disgusting.
Let's see.
The only other person that I think might make his way.
The Revolution have a match?
Who's in the Revolution?
That's Shane Douglas, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and...
Oh, I was thinking maybe. I was also thinking the rest of NWO might need a match.
Oh, the NWO against Terry Funk team or something?
Something like that, maybe.
Okay, so NWO, so that would be well, no, everyone's
it would be
busy.
Nash.
So it would be Nash against
whoever.
Terry Funk,
maybe Nash
Terry Funk's surprise opponent? I mean, that was the theme of tonight. Why would they just not do that again on the pay-per-view?
I don't know.
All right, Funk Surprise. That's what I'll call it.
Funk Surprise.
I don't think they'd book Terry Funk in a wrestling match. Otherwise, they would have probably done that tonight, right?
Yeah. And then
I love how I'm talking about it like it's happening in real time.
but I mean, it makes sense.
Does
it's easier to talk about that way. It's easy. It's easier to talk about it that way. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, we got a card. All right, so this Monday Nitro, the go-home show for Sold Out, January 10th, 2000, from Buffalo, New York. 8,990 people got scammed into going this show. Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay on comms. What'd you say?
Why would you book a show in Buffalo in January?
Seems like poor planning for
Right?
Yeah, and it's the promotion from the South too. Seems odd.
Yep.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I think it was in 98. They booked a show in the middle of winter to go to Minneapolis, and they did a dunk contest angle with Eric Bischoff in a dunk tank outside
Oh my
in the
God.
middle of winter in Minnesota.
Why?
It's because it's WCW and they're dumb.
Oh my God.
Rickee, I could not understand this show at all, mainly because this Terry Funk angle and like stable he's built
Yep.
are old geek fuckers.
Yep.
Like all throughout the night, it was all about Terry Funk booking 3 Jeff Jarrett matches
Yep.
against, get this, WWF, like former mid-card stars.
Yeah. Yep.
What? When I heard that,
Don't
I just
know.
went, oh, good. I get to see not one, but 3 Jeff Jarrett matches tonight.
Well, and that's why I didn't realize that they were talking about pay-per-view when they were talking about the 3 different matches, because we got 3 Jeff Jarrett matches here.
With
I
the
was like,
exact
I just
same
missed-
with the exact same stipulations.
Basically,
Yeah.
There was one that
WCW, Rickee, wants you to pay money to see this specialty stipulation match that they are also going to give
just
you
did.
tonight for free on television, with Jeff Jarrett losing like every single one of them.
Yeah.
That'll be $60, please.
Also, this was 2 hours of television. There were 5 matches that add up to about 20 minutes of wrestling.
Oh, we've increased it tenfold over. That's what that sounds like.
I don't even know if it's 20. 11 plus 3 is 14. 16 and a half, 17. Okay, 22 minutes of wrestling on a 2-hour show.
Phenomenal. We got more than that in like one opening match on AEW. At least we can.
Yep.
At least I can comment on that as a positive.
Yep. All right. So where do you want to start?
Well,
I'll start from the beginning.
I
Okay.
kind of don't want to start
So-
anywhere, but Terry Funk
Okay.
is shown getting
Well-
the shit kicked out of him by the NWO over and over again. They
From
showed a lot
Thursday
of Thunder highlights that I didn't understand.
Right.
Bear in mind, Rickee,
Yeah.
that Terry Funk was brought in
Yes.
by Bill Bush, who they explicitly they don't mention anymore, by the way,
Right.
to fight the NWO on equal footing with more power, and yet it seems like he has no power, and he gets the shit kicked out of him all the time. What a successful commissioning enforcer he is, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ogre shit. Okay. So then
Where do you think Ric Flair is right now?
I don't know. He hasn't been on TV since I started watching WCW.
It's ever since Russo got there. He's not there.
Oh.
Russo essentially said, "You're not on TV anymore."
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And Roddy Piper's gone.
That's true.
Yeah, he quit, but he didn't. But he is, and then he was fired. I don't know. Think he'll come back?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I'm gonna name these people that Terry Funk brought, and
Okay.
I want to know if you know these guys.
Okay.
Larry Zbyszko.
It's a name that I've heard, but I don't know who he is or why I've heard the name.
Okay. Arn Anderson.
Yes, obviously I know who Arn is.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, even before AEW, I think I knew kind of who Arn was. I knew Four Horsemen.
Okay. Paul Orndorff.
Again, a name that I've known, but I don't know why.
Well, he kind of died recently, and he was he had a very famous angle in the 80s with Hulk Hogan that drew a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
The point I'm making is none of these three guys wrestle. They're all injured and unable to wrestle anymore.
Didn't they call them what do they call them on commentary? The Old World Order?
No. Terry Funk dubbed them the Old Aged Outlaws.
Old Aged Outlaws, yeah.
And I fucking died because so much of this show is referencing the Better Company. And inadvertently, or on purpose, it's definitely on purpose, but they're making their show seem so much more lame by doing simple shit like that, of just calling them the Old Age Outlaws.
Yep.
Great. The NWO is running roughshod over this company, and you brought a bunch of old fuckers to come fight them.
It's true. It's true. But before there's too much NWO shenanigans on this episode, there's a random tag team triple threat Falls Count Anywhere match.
Did you know it was a tag title triple threat Falls Count Anywhere match when it started and when it ended?
Okay. I figured it was Falls Count Anywhere. I didn't know.
When they started counting the pin on the outside?
I don't know.
That's when I assumed.
I also did not know it was a three-way match because they started the match with only two teams.
Same. I also didn't know who was exactly in the match.
I don't either until I looked it up. I did write, poor Dean Malenko, he's too good for this.
You're not wrong.
And then it ended with a super high bump that looked really scary, but wasn't quite as high as it looked, or as high as somebody on commentary said, 50, 60, 70 feet at least.
Right.
When it was really like 15 feet. Maybe he said 15, 16, 17, but I'm 90% certain I heard 50, 60, 70 feet. Also, there was the crash pad under the table, and the guy who did the jump didn't like flip or anything. It was a pretty safe.
It was fine. A splash is fine.
It was a pretty safe spot. But then the spot goes off, and then out of nowhere, David Flair just like slides in and makes a cover and wins.
Well, so he did have a crowbar, but remember, David Flair is terrible at everything he does. So as he was hitting him, he drops the crowbar, and it looks like he never had it in the first place.
Oh yeah, see, no.
And he did that multiple times too throughout the little match there. So, yes, as we all predicted and wanted, David Flair and Crowbar are tag team champions.
I didn't even know it was for the belt, even after the match. Didn't know until I looked it up just now.
Yeah, they retained the titles, mind you,
didn't
as well.
No, didn't know. Okay. It's Scott Steiner's birthday.
That was good throughout the entire show. I got a kick out of that.
No, it was not good.
No, it was definitely good.
JD.
What?
This was disgusting.
No, it was awesome.
Everything about this was disgusting.
What's so wrong about it? Scott Steiner, I will remind you who Scott Steiner is. He is the big bad booty daddy. He is Freakzilla, and he's got to get his freak on, okay? Those women were all over him, okay? They wanted him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He wasn't like coercing anyone.
And bear in mind, actually not bear in mind, mind you, he had already had sex with at least 4 of them, and then he was like toasted. He just couldn't handle it anymore. And then they throw him back in the bathroom to go have sex with him more.
Yeah. Yep. All right, good for him.
There we go. Got you on my side.
Sure.
I laughed so hard when he came out and he's like disheveled and he's so tired. He's like, oh God.
Okay, that was funny.
You women. I don't know if I can go. And they're like, yeah, you can go another round. They they fucking they pour champagne on his head, and he's like, "Oh God!" They wake him up again, and they go back in.
Okay. Oh, you're right. It wasn't. Yeah, they were there voluntarily.
You're like weirdly disappointed about it. You're like, damn it.
Yeah. Here's something that was the most misogynistic thing ever was the promo cut by Oklahoma.
Yes, intentional. Got him booed.
Yeah, but still.
So here's the thing. In theory, this could work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Oklahoma is cutting a promo randomly, mind you, that he wants the cruiserweight title, and he's cutting promos about women working in the kitchen. They need to
be barefoot and pregnant.
Be barefoot. Okay, I did like that line. That was good heat. You got to be barefoot and pregnant with his southern accent in the kitchen. And here's all the people in the north, mind you. They're in the north, and they're booing this man feverishly. And I'm like, okay, everyone wants to see him get his ass kicked now, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's like, open challenge, bring him out. It's gonna get me ready for the cruiserweight title match. Okay, and here comes Asia, big strong, and he's backing off. He's like, oh shit, big strong woman, not what I anticipated. I'm like, okay, she's gonna like kick his ass, and then he'll do something diabolical, and he'll like roll her up and then celebrate for like 3, and then he'll build up the Medusa match. Medusa will come out, like try to kick his ass, and then he'll run away, and it's very simplistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do any of that. They did everything else like super terrible and wrong. Where Asia comes in and then she turns her back on him. He jumps her from behind. It's not even a match.
Yes.
It makes her look stupid. Then Medusa comes out in something out of the Fifth Element.
I don't know what that outfit was.
I don't know what was going on. And then she confronts him and then gets her ass kicked.
Yeah. This was
It's fucking horrible.
Ill-conceived. Yeah.
So in theory, I laid it out how it could work where someone would like to see this dude get his comeuppance.
Yeah. Also, how is this guy challenging for the cruiserweight belt? Why have weight classes if that man is challenging for the cruiserweight?
I think that's the least of our problems right now.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. It's a good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, then we get more sexy shenanigans. Then I got a
shenanigans. I like.
Then
that.
I got a Slim Jim commercial and an AOL commercial on my VHS rip.
Love it.
And okay, then Terry Funk and Arn and what's his face and Larry Zbyszko and Paul Orndorff, they come out. They do a promo train, cutting a promo on the NWO. Kevin Nash primarily, and then the rest of the NWO. It just took fucking forever. But then they're lining up the Jeff Jarrett matches. And then NWO responds, and they're all like, fuck this, fuck that. And then Scott Steiner is literally like, fuck this, fuck that. Because he talks for about 30 seconds, and they just bleeped the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So this is what made the show like immediately the worst thing I've ever seen in WCW. Because they go on for fucking ever. It's like 25 minutes of just talking at each other. The old guys in the ring, the 10, like everyone's like a 10-year veteran at least on the ramp. Actually, I pulled up a review here where they actually spell it out when all these guys debuted and when they hit their peaks. Okay. Bret Hart debuted in WWF in 1985. 15 years on TV. Kevin Nash debuted in 1990. 10 years on TV. Scott Steiner, 1989 in WCW. 11 years. Jeff Jarrett's the youngest one in 1993, so he's 7 years. He's the only one under 10. Old Age Outlaws. Terry Funk is 54 years old, debuted in 65. Arn Anderson's 41, debuted in 82. He retired 3 years ago. Paul Orndorff is 50, debuted in 1976, retired 4 years ago. Larry Zbyszko's 48, debuted in 73, retired 5 years ago. And then there's like a big long paragraph, and multiple reviews say, how is this supposed to appeal to anyone, and especially the younger crowd?
Right. I don't know. AEW is doing it with the old people.
It's not fucking working! Anyways,
Okay.
this promo was so... Like, all the promos are so bad. Orndorff can't talk properly. Arn Anderson doesn't know what he's like actually talking about because he can't actually plug anything because he can't actually wrestle anymore.
Right.
Terry Funk's stumbling over every single word he could possibly do. He doesn't know what he's saying, what he's plugging, what matches he's making. And then you got Jeff Jarrett wearing a white check jersey from the Music City Miracle game, which it had to be explained to me because I'm not a football fan. From the Tennessee Titans Buffalo Bills game that happened. They referenced that quite a lot. Only heat that got through the whole segment was nice little sports reference. And then you got Bret Hart and Kevin Nash just standing there going, what the fuck are these guys talking about? Forever. And they're trying to like get things back on track, but nothing's working. Because Terry Funk is all over the place, and so is everyone else.
Yep.
It was so bad. I honestly, without directly fucking shit up or run-ins or like, this is one of the worst promo segments I've ever seen in my life.
It was really bad. It was
With
really, really
so
bad.
much talent in there too. It's amazing how bad it was.
I know.
And it wasn't anything complicated. It was you guys are bad. We're good. We're gonna stop you. And Jeff Jarrett, I'm booking you in 3 matches.
Yes. That was the substance.
That was the substance, and it was an atrocity.
Yeah.
Whew. So, we watch Nitro week to week. Might I ask you, Rickee, what your memory is over Buff Bagwell, Diamond Dallas Page, and Kimberly?
Just that. So what I remembered before tonight was that Buff was talking some shit about Kimberly. It wasn't
last week?
That, I think it was last week, and it wasn't that DDP was just like suspicious of their relationship. Buff was like straight out being like, "I'm fucking your wife." Well. Last week, right? Like,
I'll be honest, I forgot all of that.
Okay.
Because it's Nitro. I can't.
That's fair.
Who can remember these things?
They
fair. Showed a replay of Thunder, and I'm like, did I miss a month of television? You know, it was something straight out of Jerry Springer, which, if you forget, you young kids, very popular show in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was straight out of Jerry Springer.
There was. Yeah.
So like you said, Buff Bagwell has essentially said, DDP, I'm fucking your wife. And DDP is like, well, fuck you, I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, okay. I don't need the Jerry Springer thing in my wrestling, but in this case, somehow this is one of the low bar, better things going on Nitro right now. Because everyone can relate to a dude fucking someone's wife and the dude wanting to then beat up said person. Like,
I've never understood that.
People get it, though.
But why are you mad at him and not your wife? I've never understood this.
DDP explains it in his promo. So the segment is they've been beating the shit out of each other all over arenas. And via the board of directors, commissioner, whatever the fuck, they go, you two are going to be in the ring with Mean Gene, for 5 minutes, and it's like a pitch clock in baseball. You have to comply without touching each other for 5 minutes. And at first I went, that sounds stupid. But when it played out on television and how DDP and Buff Bagwell were able to make it work and make the suspense, and you see the clock in the corner, I'm like, all right, I'm into this. Because they're telling the whole story and they're talking it out like men, and slowly and surely they're antagonizing each other. And then essentially the second that clock ticked down, DDP went, oh, and that was like the big punchline. I thought it was handled so professionally for such a ridiculous storyline, because DDP comes in the ring, he's all business, and Buff Bagwell is doing his whole shtick. You know, he's doing the finger guns on the ramp, he's got big smiles, muscles, it's like, I'm fucking people, you know. And DDP immediately goes, Mean Gene, all due respect, get out of this ring. You know, so Buff Bagwell comes down. DDP cut his little start. It's like, this is how it all goes down. He informs the audience of why he's mad. So then he confronts Buff Bagwell. And DDP's like, look, I thought we were friends. I confided in you that, my wife and I are having our issues. And then you take her to a bar and you light her up with drinks with the full intention of fucking her. So he doesn't blame his wife, truthfully. Like, he's obviously mad at her and they're having their issues. He made that clear. And he's kind of like admitting that he's also at fault for his wife falling into the trap in the first place. But his main anger is now the guy who took advantage of her. And I'm like, all right. DDP, good job. I get it. I get you. I get why you're mad. You're not totally mad at your wife. You're still going to have your problems after this, but he's got to vent his frustration somewhere. And then here comes Buff Bagwell, and he's lying out his teeth. Yeah. Right? He's like, no, we were just friends. We were just hanging out. And every time DDP brings up this bar and drinks, Buff Bagwell's like, come on. He's bouncing around. And then finally DDP ropes him in, and he goes, what about that birthmark? And he goes, what? The one? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he's like, no, the one only I can see. And then Buff Bagwell's like, well, I mean, everyone in the back has seen it too. And then that's just when it's... Oh, that's when he drops the mic. And he just fucking clocks him immediately, and it's like, that's it. And they go to blows, and there's your match. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's the match I'm looking forward to the most on this fucking pay-per-view. That'll be the one. That'll be the one that I'm sure I won't like, because it's WCW. But I gotta be honest here. I thought these two nailed it out of the park with a shitty storyline, and they made it work. There was my tease from earlier in the podcast. I was like, that was the one I actually enjoyed. Okay. So weird, right? Not for me, but I understand. Bizarre. It's so bizarre. I can't believe I liked it as much as I did. Yeah. Okay. So Jeff Jarrett had 3 matches against old people. Yeah, against old people. So first is George the Animal Steele in a bunkhouse brawl match. I thought it was just a singles match. It was a non-title bunkhouse brawl match. Okay. Yeah, George Steele's 61 years old, by the way. Yeah, well, this only went like 60 seconds anyway, so. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, he retired in like 1988. Yeah. I get why they call him the Animal. That is a very hairy man. Yeah. Almost as hairy as Killian Dane. Yep. Almost. He bites the turnbuckle, he eats it. Every single one of these matches were the same, where Jeff Jarrett beats up the old guy. Yes. Then there's interference by the Terry Funk crew, and Jeff Jarrett loses. Yep. Yeah. Every single one. So the second one was against El Matador, Tito Santana. Same story. Yep. And then the third one was the supposed main event, I believe. Jimmy Snuka. No. It was the semi-main. It was against Jimmy Snuka, the murderer. They did all for the... Oh, and Benoit's the special ref in all of these matches, too. Right. That's all. So it's going to be Benoit for the review, right? I feel like that's where they're going with that. Also, you're right. We did get Stevie Ray confronting
Booker T and setting that up. So I think you're right there. We also got
the Stevie Ray Booker T thing is really weird because I know it's been sort of told on television where Stevie Ray is now like mad about midnight for some reason. And then Booker T comes out and he goes, "Look, I'm not fighting my brother. I'm not doing this." And then Booker T gets slapped. And then he gets up and he goes, "All right, well, if you want the match, fine, but this can't be fixed." This would possibly work if they hadn't done this annually for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And inexplicably, we have Bret Hart defending the title against Kevin Nash tonight. I forgot about that in that awkward Terry Funk 20-minute promo.
Oh, yeah. I did not forget.
It made no sense. If you guys do, he's like kind of saying, if you do the finger poke of doom again, I will strip Bret Hart of the title straight up. So you have to take it seriously. And then Kevin, it made no fucking sense why any of this was happening. And of course they have just a shit match with just half effort going down. Forgot to mention, after Scott Steiner was pushed back into the bathroom by the women.
Oh, because it hasn't happened yet.
No.
You didn't forget
so
to
before the
mention
world title match, when they come back from commercial, he's now tied up in the locker room.
He's handcuffed.
Yeah, he's handcuffed in the locker room
because he has a potty mouth. They had to bleep him during his promo, so they had to wash his mouth out with soap.
Oh my god. We missed a vital part of how he went from the bathroom and fucking women to handcuffed in the locker room getting soap in his mouth.
Yeah, there was definitely a disconnect there. Let's see. Yeah. Because that happened right before the main event. They are setting up for the main event, then they wash Steiner's mouth out with soap, then they go back to the ring for Bret Hart versus Kevin Nash. Which was kind of a match. It went over 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's the longest WCW match we've seen in ages that's on TV. Yeah, Bret Hart worked the leg. Nash sold it a little bit. It was fine, I suppose, before the shit WCW finish they always do.
Okay, so let's talk about this finish. So first of all, there's a low blow directly in front of the ref. They don't even try to hide it.
I can't remember the last time there was a DQ in WCW.
I don't know what the point of that was. And then the cage starts to come down.
Right, for no reason.
For no reason. And then then you have to explain the rest to me, because I looked away for half a second, and then all of a sudden Sid Vicious makes the pin and wins the match or something. I don't even know how this ended.
Well,
it ended in a DQ, I guess, or a no contest.
Yeah, it was a no contest, and the whole idea is Sid is here to... He's the one that lowered the cage, as commentary tried to play it off, and...
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
He plants Bret with a choke slam and power bomb, and then Arn can do the visual pin over Bret Hart. It's kind of a classic little wrestling thing to do that. Unfortunately, this is officially Bret Hart's last match.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll essentially never wrestle again, is what
that
this
sucks.
is. And his last match was against Kevin Nash in just an... by the numbers Bret Hart type match with this guy in non-finish.
Yep.
What that means for the pay-per-view, I don't know. I don't remember. But till the end of the show, they branded it as Sid versus Bret. And from what I could tell, Bret Hart
and then
wasn't...
Terry Funk set Kevin Nash on fire.
Oh, right. Don't worry about that part.
The end.
Yeah, the end. Well, that was Nitro. Our next episode will be over Sold Out. I guess I'll just end with that. Why bother going over it more?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. You get to watch your next WCW pay-per-view, Ricky.
I'm ecstatic. I can't wait.
Well, that's this episode. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.